is the Big O Show. This 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 is the Big O Show.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
This is the Big O Show.
There's many ways to support our program, from subscribing and liking the show to visiting our terrific sponsors. Another way is using Cash App. If you would like to donate to the show and help us grow, download Cash App and search Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. We appreciate your support as we continue to build the best sports show on the planet for South Florida sports fans. Support the Big O Show by using Cash App and donate to Cash Big O Show. Thank you for your incredibly loyal support.
This is the Big O Show.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Let's try it again. There we go. Good morning. Welcome aboard. Time to rock and roll, baby. Yes, it's a Tuesday. It's a debut for Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat reports. It starts today, the day after free agency started at 6 o'clock. So now we get to talk a little basketball, get to talk a little bit about what the Heat did last night, which they were clearly the most active team in the NBA yesterday. And depending on where you land on how you feel about all of this, Ira Winderman is set to join us at 10:30, so we don't have to wait too long to get the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. It is a Tuesday, so Manny Navarro will also stop by at 12:30, and we'll have some fun with Manny. So we got a lot of things to talk about, obviously, with Ira at the bottom of the hour. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about. Obviously, the Heat and the Dolphins are going to be front and center. Got some other stuff that I want to talk about, but let's stick to the bigger stories. And first of all, let's start off with the Miami Heat and their moves in free agency. Now, first of all, listen, let's stay in reality in all of this, okay? The Miami Heat had no shot at elite players. There weren't really a lot of elite players available. You know what I mean? Like Russell Westbrook. Not that I really want him here in Miami, but I mean, those kind of, he was traded to the Lakers, but there wasn't really a list of guys. Kawhi Leonard looks like he's going back to the Clippers, and he's injured also with the knee. And so, really, there weren't a lot of elite players, and who knows if even Miami was going to be a sexy destination for those teams, for those type of players. They haven't been able to really land an elite player in a long, long time now. And so now they went in the other direction. And look, I commend the Heat for making the moves that they made because they are making their team more relevant. They're making their team better. Now, are they a championship team? No, they're not. They're not a championship caliber team. Are they taking some risks here? Hells to the yeah, they're taking risks. They're taking risks because they're taking, they got three guys in their, in their mid-30s pretty much. And Butler's got a lot of wear and tear, whether it's games, whether it's Thibodeau practices and everything else. And you kind of see his body wearing down, and they're going to give him an extension. You sign a Kyle Lowry who's 35 years old. You sign a PJ Tucker who's 36. So you're opening yourself up to, now the Tucker one is only 2 years, but Jimmy is a 4-year extension and Lowry's a 3-year deal. And that's a lot of years for guys that are at the end of their careers. And you just don't even know if they're going to be able to hold up from here on out as it is, So, but I commend them because they are a better team today than they were last year because they've got more experience. Look, they relied on a bunch of young guys. The young guys came through 2 years ago. They had incredible postseasons in the bubble, in the moment. They got on a roll, and it was fantastic. But they couldn't follow it up. You know what I mean? And so I commend them for making the moves. Adding Kyle Lowry adds the experience. There's no doubt about it. In the playoffs, experience is what matters. Duncan Robinson gets a 5-year, $90 million deal. It's really, in today's world, it's really not it's not completely out of control, that kind of contract for a shooter. It is what it is. They need one too, because Kyle Lowry is a decent three-point shooter, not a great three-point shooter. Jimmy Butler is a terrible three-point shooter. Bam Adebayo isn't a three-point shooter. So you don't have a lot of three-point shooters. And then you've got to hope that Tyler comes back and kind of brings it. So it's imperative to have Duncan because he can do something consistently that no one else can. And he does it at a level that very few do it in the entire NBA. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I have to look at it and say, okay, this is not a bad move for the Miami Heat overall. PJ Tucker, 36 years old, a defensive specialist. He is a complete Heat player. There's no doubt in my mind. That guy, they re-signed Dwayne Dedmon to a 1-year contract. They signed Gabe Vincent and Max Strus to 2-year deals. Now the whole question is, can they hold up? Do they have enough shooting? That's all of these things are legitimate questions. Now, I got to be honest with you. This is not a team that's going to challenge for any kind of title. I don't have title aspirations at all for this team. I don't. I'm sorry. I think it's a team that'll be a 6, 7, 8 seed. And if they can win enough games and stay healthy, maybe they can sneak into 4 and 5 and survive a round. That's it. But if they end up at 6, 7, or 8, they're going to get bounced in the first round. And if they can sneak up a little higher to 4 and 5, then maybe they can survive one round. That's kind of what their ceiling is in my eyes. I don't see them in the Eastern Conference. I certainly don't see them winning the Eastern Conference, and I don't see them getting to a finals, and I don't see them winning in the finals when it's all said and done. Now, I know the Nets, very injury-prone team, so maybe they don't make it all the way because, again, Kyrie's always breaking down and, Harden's up there in years, and Durant's had his share of injuries too. So maybe they're not also a team that holds up, but they're clearly, if they're healthy, they're going to run the Heat off the floor because they can score. Something that this team has not proven. When I look at this bunch, this doesn't look like a bunch that's going to be hanging with you and scoring a lot of baskets. You know what I'm saying? So I look at this team where they have some limitations. But in the end, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? They have no shot at superstars. So if they have no shot at superstars, you've got to do what's the next best thing. And that's kind of the direction that they're going in. It'll be a blue collar team. They'll play defense, by the way. As frustrated as we've been the last couple of years with this team, these guys will play defense now. Okay? Because Kyle Lowry will play defense and Jimmy Butler will play defense and PJ Tucker and Bam Adebayo. You know what I'm saying? So they've got guys. Dwayne Dedman will defend on the boards. So you've got guys now. Yeah, Tyler's a weakness. Duncan Robin's a weakness. I get all of that. But they've got more defenders now on the court. Question is, you're relying on a lot of age in all of this. And Riley has this tendency and this love affair a lot of times with older players. And this is kind of the direction that they got old in this move. You know what I mean? So the question is, can they hold up? And that's one that none of us can really answer. And how far can they go? And can they go farther than I even expect them to go? You know what I mean? Because I don't have a lot of high hopes. And that's the one thing that when I see this, I commend them for making the moves, right? But then I have to be honest with myself. I'm going to enjoy watching the team. I'll root for the team, but I don't have a lot of high hopes for them. So they're going to have to prove me wrong in a way, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't, you always want to have that feeling like you got a shot. And especially when you're a Heat fan, you're used to kind of putting together the kind of teams that maybe you have a shot to go all the way. I don't see that with this team. That's the only thing that kind of takes the wind out of my sails, that I'm going to watch it from the beginning, and I don't expect them to make any kind of a deep run at any point in time. So it's kind of like there's a limitation to the entertainment that I could have, or the excitement, or whatever the pinnacle is. It's limited what it is. And that's my problem with this Heat team right now, the way it's constructed. Yesterday people were saying, whoa, give it a chance and this and that. And I was like, listen, the Florida Panthers did more this offseason to get closer to the Tampa Bay Lightning than the Miami Heat did to get to the Bucks or get to the Nets. I don't even know if they'll make it to the third seed. You know what I mean? Atlanta, what's it called? Philadelphia, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they can even beat those teams and get to the third or fourth seed. But I think they do have a shot at 4, maybe 5. An outside shot if things go well, if they take it serious, which they will, because there's a lot of veterans on this team. Now, here's where I could be wrong about the Miami Heat. And they could actually make a deeper run, okay? There is a way that the Heat can be champions and can get to the NBA Finals and maybe even challenge in the NBA Finals. And I know some of you are going, well, wait a minute. If you don't think they have if they can't make a deep run, then what scenario is there that makes it them becoming a deep run and Eastern Conference winner, NBA finalist? You want to know how? Bam Adebayo needs to become a superstar. The problem with this Miami Heat team right now is you're going to go up against teams that have legitimate superstars. Miami doesn't have one. Jimmy Butler's an all-star. Lowry's an aging all-star. And Bam Adebayo is barely an all-star. Okay? He just became an all-star, first time ever. That's it. If the Miami Heat want to become a contender, then Bam Adebayo has to become a superstar. So the question I have for all of you out there is, can Bam Adebayo become a superstar? Does he have it in him? Because we haven't seen it yet. And we haven't seen him turn on dog all of a sudden where he wants to dominate. He doesn't do that. He's incredibly passive. Too passive for me, actually, at times. Heck of a player, but his ceiling might be that he's just an all-star. And then the other, I'm not done yet. And then Tyler Hero needs to become an all-star. Because what this team needs is a young superstar and a young all-star. Because young superstars and young all-stars can help carry and help make a difference for all-star veterans. Now, if you're going to ask the all-star veterans who already have a ton of mileage on their bodies, their odometers have gone around a couple times, that by the time you roll around to April, May, and June, they're out of gas. Their bodies are worn out. They don't have the same kind of energy they've had in the past. So the only way I see this Heat team becoming a contender, it's up to two guys. Two guys. I don't expect Duncan to ever be an all-star. Maybe one year he sneaks in because he shot the hell out of the ball, but he doesn't do jack crap anywhere else. Okay? He doesn't help you anywhere else that I would have any kind of aspirations for him. He's going to be an incredible shooter for the rest of his life because that's what he can do. But he hasn't shown me jack anywhere else. Once in a blue moon, he'll get some rebounds. Once in a blue moon, he'll do this, he'll do that, but he cannot do anything else outside of shoot on a consistent basis. Tyler Hero's the one that's got the talent to be an all-star. Okay? Bam Adebayo has the talent to be a superstar. The question is, does he have the determination, the heart, the hunger to become a superstar? Does he have the ego to become a superstar? Because if you're going to become a superstar, you need an ego. You got to feel like you belong. You got to feel like you own the moment. You got to feel like you own what's going on the court. And Bam Adebayo never does that. So is he going to wake up and become a superstar? Is Tyler Hero going to wake up and become an all-star? Because to me, that is the horsepower in the engine. I'm afraid that by the time you get to the end of the season, you're going to count on Lowry and Butler to carry you all the way through. I'm sorry. They're not prolific enough as scorers to get you there. But Tyler Hero can be that because he's got the athleticism, he's got the youth, he's got the energy. The question is, does he have the desire? Does he have the hunger? That's what I want to know from Tyler Hero. Okay? I don't want to know about Taco Tuesday. I don't want to know about, your IG girlfriend. I don't want to know about any of that fluff stuff. I don't care about your stupid little scowl. I don't care about any of that crap. Get your ass on the court and dominate. Get your ass on the court and become a player. I'm not asking you to be a superstar because that would be an incredibly, an unrealistic leap that I can't expect from him. But I think he can be an all-star type player. And Bam needs to step up to that point where he is a superstar. That's the only way that the Miami Heat are challenging for the Eastern Conference Finals and the title and moving on to the NBA Finals with a chance to actually beat Lakers, Clippers, Suns, whoever the hell gets there again The Miami Heat can compete against all of those if those two young men take the next step forward. If they don't take the next step forward, I don't see much of a ceiling for this team. They'll be entertaining. They'll be fun to watch. They'll be a respectable team. They'll be a professional team because they're going to work hard every night because Kyle Lowry is not going to be lazy night in and night out. Neither is Jimmy Butler. Neither is Bam Adebayo. Neither is Dedmon. Neither is Tucker. You know, these guys work hard. Duncan works hard. This is going to be a lunch pail type team. But when you're going up against superstars, you need superstar ammunition. And they have zero superstar ammunition. No Shaq, no Wade, no LeBron, no Bosh, no Zoe. Sorry. There's nothing at that level on this team. So it's up to the two young guys, but especially the big man, to get to that level of those guys that I talked about. And if they don't get there, then you can't expect them to go down and take down the superstars. Because that's what happened with the Heat 2 years ago. They were on a roll. Everything was going great, right? And then the injuries came. And then in the end, they had the superstars that could carry you, the two guys. And Miami doesn't have one of those kind of guys. And you're going to need those kind of guys at the end to kind of close this thing out. So for me, I lay it all on the table for Bam Adebayo and for Tyler Hero. That's the key to actually being a champion or having a shot at a championship. It's not up to Lowry. It's not up to Butler because they can't do it. Lowry could never do it until they got a superstar named Kawhi Leonard. Because Lowry isn't a superstar, never has been a superstar, never will be a superstar. He's an all-star player. And right now, he's probably, he's not even the same all-star player he was a few years ago. He's a lesser player now. So don't expect him to all of a sudden elevate and do things he couldn't do in Toronto with a better team. When everybody was talking about, the Heat are thinking about pairing up again Lowry and DeRozan. And I'm like, what the hell did they win? At their peak, what the hell did they win? Nothing. Need a star, man. Miami has 0 stars. Okay? Got a bunch of lunch pail guys. Got an overachieving, barely all-star in Jimmy Butler. You got an aging all-star in Kyle Lowry, and you got a young all-star in Bam Adebayo. None of them are ever close to superstars. And as for the veterans, those two guys weren't ever even close to being a superstar. We just get caught up here in the moment thinking that he might be superstar material here because he carries a team that really doesn't have any kind of star quality. So, to me, that's how this equation works out. And it's up to the young guys. All right, remember, you can reach out to us on email at Big O Radio Show, on Twitter at Big O Show. You can chime in on the YouTube chat board. I see the folks there already lining up on the YouTube chat board. Remember, Cash App or Venmo, another way to support the show. That's Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show, and we appreciate it immensely. Ray Grullon, by the way, thank you, sir, for taking care of us yesterday on, I think it was Cash App. I'm not exactly sure if it was, I think it was Cash App, but thank you, sir, for sending it in on Cash App. That was very, very nice of you. Always appreciate the support out there. Let me see what we got going on. Steve Chapman, of course, chimes in early in the morning. Robert Triana, DJ Gallagher, Omar Lopez, Alan C., Chris Ike. Let's see, Gus 1388, Guillermo Arauz, Steven Gonzalez. Horn Dog says, Pat Riley has set this franchise back 3 years with all these 33-year-old plus signings. They're going to be broken down by the time the playoffs start. More youth needed. That's why I said what I said, Horn Dog, because I'm not a fan of signing. I'm certainly not a fan of that extension to Jimmy Butler. That to me, I don't know what the hell they're thinking, to be honest with you. Jose Quintero, man of 1,005 holds, raging Dolphin maniac, Lisa Rose, John Rouse in the house. NorCal is in. Folks, don't forget to smash the hell out of that like button. Very important to smash that like button. Raging Dolphin maniac, Danielle Marquez, Troy Ortiz, Martina Davis says another day, another dollar. Looking forward to a great show. Fins up. Thank you, Martina. Appreciate you. Lone Star 1029. Mitchell Young. Sam Thompson says, Big O, haven't caught the show for a while, but really looking forward to the Dolphin season and hearing your coverage. Hope you're well. All the best. Sam in UK. Thank you, Sam, out there in UK. We got plenty of folks listening out in the UK, which is a beautiful thing. Fred Davis is in. Herman Cueva, Nico Jones, Gary Landon. How many more years is Riley going to be in charge? As long as he wants, my friend. T-Bone is in. Let's talk Miami Dolphins, bro. Today I hear the boys are playing pads. What do you think about the Fish situation? I really see a professional organization. Man, it's been a long time I've seen that. Well, we've been talking about that every day. T-Bone, you haven't been on the show? Let's go. We've been talking about the Dolphins every day. Rosendo, good morning, Big O Nation. Quote, a happy Tuesday. Stay positive. Saying yes to happiness leaves no room for stress. All right, Rosendo. Andres Sandoval. Mike Monaco from the Bronx says, what up, Big O? I haven't joined since pre-pandemic. I got a girl knocked up that I met at the club, and she had twins. My life is over, bro. Holy crap. Met an IG model, huh, Mike Monaco? Hang in there, my brother. Twins? Wow. Double trouble. Bam Hyde last playoffs, mid-range, went MIA and got soft. That's what Sandoval says about Bam. Damn, you're on point, Big O, with the Heat. But hey, listen. Sometimes I'm on point and sometimes I'm completely off point. So it's sports, man. You're going to get some right. You're going to get some wrong, right? I have X gone and traded. I think he's done. And now some people are saying that maybe there's some hope that they might sign him and give him a little extra money. That would, see what I mean? Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're going to be off. So we'll be off plenty of times too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm on with the Heat. Maybe I'm not. To me, they need young gas in that engine. They got old gas, and that's not good. Ray says, good morning. Oh, everybody's sad for Dragic, but it hasn't been the same the last few years due to injuries. Hero needs to step up. I hope the best, but in reality, it's a second-round team at best. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Second-round team, as long as they get to the middle of the playoff bracket. If they're in the bottom of the playoff bracket and they're playing the top teams, they're done. They'll be eliminated in the first round. Troy says, plus Riley's going to sign Jimmy to a max contract. This team is now set up for mediocrity the next 5 years. Yeah, I don't like the Jimmy deal. I'm on the record saying he plays these next 2 years and then you get out of it. But to give him the extension, I completely disagree with Riley on that one. GP Trap reminds everybody to smash that like button, and please smash that like button. Very important that you do that. Very, very important. Isai says, good morning, Big O. Have you heard Dan Orlovsky's analysis of Tua? It's a shame how the national media judges our boy. I have not heard, but, I mean, Orlovsky's kind of goof for me. It just, I don't know. He does nothing for me, bro. Mike No-Go Zones is checking in. Thank you, sir. Fred Soros, also in from Michigan. Don Parlamento, Premier Reviewer. Pipe Man Slim. Carlos C. Cafre Gold says, Big O, we don't have any picks for young talent, so I guess this was the only option for the Heat. Yes, sir. Cafre, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. They had no options. They had no superstars that were going to come here. So they had to kind of go this way, but I still would not commit to old guys this long. I just wouldn't. James F. Vivinetti says, what's up? Thank you, James. Appreciate you, sir. Heat may not win a title, but they're going to be fun to watch. Yeah, blue collar, bro. No doubt. No doubt. They'll play hard. They'll be a professional team. That I agree with that. I agree with that. Adrian Gonzalez is in. Call of Duty says, any news on the Orlando Magic? They suck. Dara Cotton 13 is in. Jamie Zorrilla from San Jose, California. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you out there out west. Michael Cruz says, how do you think the Canes will do this year? Oh, do we have a shot at Alabama? No. No shot at Alabama. The rest, they can win the rest of the games. Dude, it all comes down to North Carolina. Okay? That's really what it all comes down to. Can you beat North Carolina? Can you win the division so you can put yourself in the ACC title game? Realistically, they have no business beating Atlanta, and they have no business beating Clemson. But if they can beat North Carolina and win their games outside of the Alabama game and put themselves in position to be in the ACC championship game, then we can say Diaz did a hell of a job. But if Diaz fails against North Carolina and doesn't win the division, then he has failed as a coach. Pretty simple. I'm not asking him to beat Alabama. I'm asking him to beat North Carolina that lost all their weapons. They got a quarterback. I get it. They got the better quarterback in the conference. I completely understand that. Sam Howell is a baller. But really, it's all up to everything after Alabama. They get a pass because I don't expect them to beat Alabama. But everything else, you got 19 of 22 starters, bro. Let's go. You got to do something. How many times do coaches get 19 of 22 guys to return? How many times do they get that many seniors on their team with that much experience? If Manny cannot take advantage of this situation, then I don't have a lot of hope for him anymore, and I just got to admit that I was dead wrong about it. That's all. I wanted Manny just as much as a lot of you out there, but he has proven all of us wrong so far through the first 2 years. But this is the year. He has to get it done. He gets King one more year. He's got 19 of 22 starters. He's got the most experienced offensive line practically in the country. He's got depth on that offensive line now. It's crap or get off the pot, as they say. Okay? George says, remember what you said about the Heat team going into the bubble? You never gave them a chance. No, I did not. I did not. And remember, I said I didn't give them a chance this year, and what happened? So don't conveniently remember only last year. Remember that I said that they were the same team this year, and they got bounced. Okay? All right, George? All right? I'm batting 500, which means I'm a Hall of Famer in baseball. And nobody put them in the bubble to go to the NBA Finals. So let's not make it sound like I'm the only guy that didn't think they weren't doing much in the bubble, and then all of a sudden they went to the NBA Finals and everybody else was predicting NBA Finals. Please, dude. Okay? Come on. Let's go. Anyway, let's do this. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, Ira Winderman is going to join us. We are going to have our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report, and we will do that next.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
This is the Big O Show.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, it is time to talk a little Heat basketball and NBA, and we'll be doing it twice a week right now with the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. The great Ira Winderman, kind enough to join us here from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, a man that was really busy yesterday as the Heat were making all kinds of moves. Man, they wasted no time, Ira. None.
Yeah, they were in it, and again, it's another situation, didn't have a lot of cap space, sort of had taken care of all of that. But you know what? Oh, and I know you've already spoken about some of the Heat moves, where you think that put them or did not put them. But, I think you'd agree with one thing. Pat Riley always has been a man with a plan. And you knew what he was going to do. You knew it was going to be Kyle Lowry. No shock there. You knew he was going to try to find a power forward, say what you want about what he did or didn't do. So Pat Riley sort of takes it to a degree where he knows where he wants to go, what he's going to do, and he gets it done. You started yesterday, I think, with like 5 players under contract. You end the day with 11 guys on your roster. Now, whether you love the roster or not, and here's the thing, and I think even you would agree with this. There's always a chance of a +1, of one more. They're not done yet. There still are possibilities. We can debate whether Tyler Hero stays or whether he goes, but there still are the chances to do something else. There still are players on the board, and if you've been following Twitter this morning and other places, there's a lot of veterans who thought they would have bigger deals who might have to take Heat deals. So I still think by the time we talk again on our Friday Acura Pembroke Pines report, I think there's going to be one more name also that we're going to add into this mix.
Give me an idea of what kind of names are we talking about, and explain to folks, they have some of the exemption left over, right? Because they only gave PJ Tucker a part of it.
Yeah, there are 2 small exceptions. Because they only gave PJ Tucker a part of the full mid-level, they have a piece there in excess of the minimum, just in case someone wants something more. Plus, as you mentioned in all your other shows for your other teams, the no state income tax in Florida really is a multiplier there. So you have that. They also have their biannual exception. I thought that Dwayne Dedmon would possibly eat up some of that money. Now they have a little bit more flexibility there also. So they have those, but they still can put together a deal. They still, if they are willing and able to go over the luxury tax but stay under the hard cap, there's still enough flexibility there where you can send out a Tyler Hero, do a quick re-sign of an Andre Iguodala just for salary purposes. We see this all in the NBA. The NBA is the only place where you call someone up and say, hey, can I please give you $5 million, but you don't have to do a darn thing for it. So they can still do that with Andre Iguodala. They can still do that with Victor Oladipo. So all of a sudden, you take a Tyler Hero, $4 or $5 million, you take money from one of those guys, you could still get a DeRozan. You could still get another player to further round out your roster. So now it's moving day. Monday was setup day for the Heat. Right now, the Heat can go into a game, and they can have a starting lineup of, say, Bam Adebayo, PJ Tucker, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and Jimmy Butler. Competitive there right away. Plus, you have Hero coming off the bench and Dwayne Dedmon. But there's going to be one more, because there always is one more. And because, honestly, just about all the salary cap space is dried up around the league. So you're talking about the $10 million mid-level exception most teams have, and the Heat can find a way in a sign and trade to put something like that together also.
Okay, first of all, let's go through a couple of the issues.
Sure.
The age. You're committing to Jimmy for 4 more years, which, if I understand it correctly, my friend, they are going to be tied to him through the 25-26 season with that 4-year, $181 million contract. You gave Kyle Lowry a 3-year deal. He's 35 years old. The PJ Tucker deal is only 2 years, so it's not the end of the world, but they're counting a lot on old legs.
Yes.
How concerned should Heat fans be about that? Because, we saw Chris Paul at the end.
Yes, perfect example.
I don't know how they gave him 4 years and $120 million after that, but you saw what was left of his body at the end of that series.
Yeah, at the end of the finals. But we also saw what he looked like until the end of the finals and how dynamic a player he was all season. And again, in a compacted schedule because of COVID. So you had that going on also. I think when you look at it, yes, you don't want too many old players, but what you want are the right old players. Is this a guy who's going to be out partying? Is this guy who's not going to take care of his body? The one thing we know, Jimmy takes care of himself. He goes to bed at like 6:30 at night. The one thing we know about Kyle Lowry, he might be coming off his best season when you look across the metrics. The one thing we know about PJ Tucker, he just won a freaking NBA championship. So yes, you can wind up with the wrong old guys, but that's the difference.
Right. No, there's no doubt that this is the lunch pail. This is a professional team that you will enjoy. I'm with you there. Now, if you're going to try to get and make a deep run, because right now I don't look at this team. I still don't look at this team like a deep run. But if you're going to make a deep run, you're going to run into superstars. This team doesn't have a superstar. So how do you see this team competing against those kind of teams that do have the superstars that they can rely on to count on it? Because this whole thing about it's a team thing and guys will, trade off from night to night on who, and you never know who it's going to be. I just kind of don't like that for the NBA. And the NBA, I like to have a couple of guys that I know I can count on and they can be my horses.
I'll put it two ways. First of all, I'll put it this way. The Heat team that this team previously had, basically it was Jimmy, Butler, or bust at crunch time. I think you would agree. Right. It was Jimmy and get out of the way. If nothing else, Big O, at least now they have Jimmy and Kyle Lowry. Because, if they're going to do the Eddie House sack dance, for example, Kyle Lowry's willing to do that also. He has a large pair as well at the end of games. So at least now you have two guys. God bless Goran Dragic, who I love as a person and I love as a player. But he never was the player at the end of NBA games with the Heat. He was for Slovenia in international play. He felt a lot more comfortable with Slovenia being the guy in the moment. With the Heat, he was always deferring. So number one, you have that. Number two, how are you going to compete? And I'm not saying that they are. I have them no higher than number 3 in the East right now. But if you're asking me how they're going to compete, they're going to compete this way. They are going to put PJ Tucker on Kevin Durant, just like the Bucks did in winning a series by the length of a shoe. They are going to put the defensive tenacity of Jimmy Butler on James Harden. They're going to put the bulldoggedness of Kyle Lowry on Kyrie Irving. And they are going to win games. And, you and I are going to be back in the early 2000s in Riley Ball. And they're going to try to win their playoff games 86-83. So I don't know if you can say, and you and I will be talking about this on our bi-weekly segments, the Heat played an exciting and a fun game last night, but they might play a winning game. This is Riley Bulldog going back to the New York Knicks and his teams with Mason and Oakley and Starks and those kind of players. That's how this roster is set up. You're going to tell me so many times when we talk the next morning, Ira, was a good win. I don't know if you're going to tell me, Ira, that was a really fun game.
Well, actually, you know what? I will have fun watching a team that gives you great effort on both sides of the court. I've always respected that about Riley. I've always admired that about Riley and Spo, that and even Stan Van Gundy, that their teams always played on both sides of the ball. And that's the one thing that I will credit them on all these moves, where we were so freaking frustrated that this team sucked defensively at times. They're going to be a much better defensive team this year. So as much as we might complain, hey, is there enough shooting? Well, there's going to be more defense actually this year than there has been the last 2 years.
And at the point of attack. And that's been the problem. Yeah. This team does not have deterrence at the rim. God bless Bam Adebayo, but he's not a 7'2" shot blocker. He's an undersized center. And yes,
he's not even a 6'10" Alonzo Mourning, by the way.
He's not even a center when you get down to it. So you have that. You have Dwayne Dedmon, who is deterrence, but is going to foul out relatively quick in most games. That's just how he plays. But now you finally can keep the opposing penetrator in front of you. We knew that, God bless him, Goran Dragic, that was never a specialty. Kendrick Nunn was never that kind of player. Tyler Hero, not that kind of player. It reached a point last season where their best on-ball defender was Gabe Vincent, and you can't have that. Kyle Lowry will keep the ball in front of him, and this is going to be really fun, or flop-o-matic like usual. Remember Eric Spoelstra, all those games when he talked about... Right, when he talked about Kyle Lowry and all his floppery, and we don't teach that here, well, they might start teaching that here because that's what Kyle Lowry gives you. He'll complain about every foul call, but he'll be dogged in front of everyone. No one is going to get a free pass into the paint. That honestly had been the case for the Heat the last couple of years.
All right, Ira, so let me put this scenario in front of you. While I commend them for the moves, and I don't have a high ceiling for them, I think there is an avenue for a high ceiling. And that high ceiling has to be Bam becomes a superstar and Tyler becomes an all-star. Because if you can get young, explosive players part of that engine, then you can help carry those veterans down the stretch like we watched Dwayne Wade in 2006 carry a bunch of old guys. Now, I'm not saying that Bam will become a superstar. Maybe he can't become a superstar. But if somehow or another he can take that next step and Tyler can actually grow into being an all-star because he goes out there and shoots lights out and does his thing, then that's when I start to see Miami go to that next step and play with the Brooklyns of the world and the Milwaukees of the world, because all of a sudden now you've added two dynamic stars. And that's the one thing and that they don't have here. And that's, I think they would need that element. Agree or disagree?
I sort of disagree, and I hate to for this reason. So I wrote last night about the stories and how the Heat reconfigured themselves and how it's still Jimmy and Bam and Kyle and their new big three. Then I turned on Team USA, and I watched them play the game. They were pretty good against Spain. They advanced now to the Olympic gold medal round semifinals against Australia, and Bam played as a complimentary player. And he never looked at the rim, and he didn't attack. He facilitated, he rebounded, he defended, he came up with steals, and he let Kevin Durant handle the heavy lifting, and Devin Booker, and Damian Lillard. And that's the thing. Bam Adebayo is a wonderful complementary player. He's a great third player. He's a very good fourth player. But I was really hoping in these Olympics to see Bam sort of with the screw it Bam. These are international players. I'm going to kick their butt at the rim. Right now, that's not who he is. And there has to be a little bit more of that from him. I agree. This team has a lot of talent on the wing, but their power rotation is kind of nominal, marginal right now. Yeah, it's meh. So I think Bam Adebayo still has to get a little bit more or utilize a little bit more of the aggression gene. And I wish I would have seen it a little more this summer so I could tell you, hey, after this experience, I know Bam is going to come back as a stronger, different player. I didn't see that last night against Spain. I want to see that on Thursday, 12:15 a.m. against Australia in the Olympic semifinal. So I have my questions there. Tyler Hero, I know you've seen this on social media many places. We all do this. It's the game we do, the percentage of whether Tyler will be back or not. As long as Tyler is still the Heat's best trade chip as far as contracted value and youth, I'm still not so sure that if you're going in a Jimmy Butler through his 36th birthday, Kyle Lowry 3-year deal starting at 35, PJ Tucker in his mid-30, you just don't say screw it and go all in and maybe move Tyler Hero for something a little more moment ready, like a DeMar DeRozan, like a player of that. So yes, if Tyler Hero becomes an all-star, wonderful. If he becomes an all-star for the Miami Heat, all the better. But if Tyler Hero also can bring you a player who this season, in this moment, against the Nets and against the Bucks and Antetokounmpo and Middleton and Drew Holiday and against the 76ers, I think Pat Riley's all in now. And I think that's the one thing. Your criticism of the Heat's moves yesterday, whether you agree or not, or anything they've done, this guy lives in the moment. This is not the Marlins constantly trading their entire starting outfield and giving us this future thought. How many times, have they pushed back? Our future is in this year, and our future is going to be in 2024 and down the road. And you see that to a degree with the Dolphins and going in with their young quarterback and not keeping Fitzpatrick. What I love about the Heat, and I like a lot about the Panthers also, is, let's live in the moment. If nothing else, these pandemic times have shown us sometimes you've just got to live in the moment.
I'm with you there. Ira Winderman, of course, with our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. Make sure you visit our friends at Craig Zinn's Acura Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 and Pines. And make sure you tell them that the Big O Show sent you. I want to follow up on what you were talking about with Bam. I give him a pass here because he stepped into a place where he doesn't know all these stars. And so all of a sudden, for him to become the dick and say, hey, screw all you guys, I'm taking over now. Right. You know what I mean?
I get it.
But when he gets back here, this is his team. He needs to become a dick. He needs to become an asshole. Tom Brady yesterday was mother effing everybody in practice, and he's got 7 titles, and he's like, we got to play. I don't care. You guys are tired. You got to make a play when you're tired, this and that. And Bruce Arians was then backing him up after that and all that crap because all the reporters saw him, flip out and he punted a ball for 40 yards or something. And the guy's still hungry after 7 titles. He wants more, which you got to admire them. We saw that with Michael Jordan, with those.
Sure.
We saw it with Alonzo Mourning. Alonzo Mourning played like a rabid beast every single night. When he comes back here, that's where I have to demand him to become, this is my damn team. Great, Jimmy. I'm glad you're here, Kyle. I'm glad you're here, PJ. I'm glad you're here. But I'm taking over. And that's where I want him, because he should feel the comfort zone of taking over here. You know what I mean?
But that might not be his personality. That might not be who he is. And you have to learn that. They gave him the money to be a leading man. His extension starts this season. No longer can Ira Winderman come on the accurate Pembroke Pines report and go, well, he's still under a rookie contract. He's not that big on the salary cap. You and I spoke about that all last year. I agree. But you also are who you are. And so also it might be like you having told me 2-3 years ago, Justice Winslow has to be more aggressive. Justice Winslow has to hit 3-point shots. Justice Winslow has to become more of an offensive threat. Or, as we saw with the Grizzlies letting him go and not picking up his team option, he's not that. Sometimes you are what you are, and it might be, no matter the salary, that Bam Adebayo is simply going to be a really good complementary piece to Jimmy Butler, to Kyle Lowry, maybe to Tyler Hero and another player. That's what we'll see. And the one thing I think we both praise Eric Spoelstra for is he finds a lane for a player and he maximizes that lane. So I think he will know what Bam can do and not can do. Guys like you and I will say he should shoot threes, he should be more aggressive, but I think they will maximize and make him the best Bam he can possibly be. And that big O for the next 5 years is what you and I will be debating, is how good can the best Bam be? Bambi, not Bambi, right.
The Jimmy Butler deal, what do you like and don't like about it? Because, God, I find that to be such a risky deal.
I like most about it that a guy who could turn into a total SOB if he's not happy, damn well better be happy for everything that has been done for him and given to him with his franchise. So there won't be Jimmy with Fred Hoiberg. There won't be Jimmy storming into a practice with a Rolex, kicking his teammate's butt and storming out and then telling Rachel Nichols all about it. There won't be Jimmy having trouble with Brett Brown and the 76ers and wanting to do it his way and be the man. He's sated. If Jimmy Butler is not happy now, 4 years and $181 million later, the deal will get done on Friday, to earliest it can get done no matter what others are saying about it being done. If he can't be happy with that, then you have a real issue. So what I like most about it is that he's sated. What I don't like about it is the age factor, of course, through his 36th birthday. What I don't like about it is the huge portion of the salary cap. But I will say this, Jimmy Butler, with the exception of the Bucks series this season, has done everything asked of him, everything required, plus more. So you hope that the Bucks series was a one-off. And if you know Jimmy and who he is, I think that series and that no-show, honestly, by him will fuel him during this extension because he knows what he said. Remember what he said? Oh, come the playoffs, I'm going to turn it on and be a dog and it'll all be ready. And he wasn't. He was swept in the first round. I hope that the Heat almost put the box scores of all 4 of those games on his locker room and allow him to marinate on that.
Well, let's hope so. Goran Dragic. We're writing stuff about him getting his number retired in the Miami Heat.
I think he should. I think he should be. I think Pat Riley is more into the ultimate big stars. That's why you have Michael Jordan's jersey up there. That's why he did something for Dan Marino. So Dragic's never reached that level. But in a period when this team could have gone so far south, when you had Dwayne Wade in that situation where he briefly left, when you had Chris Bosh's blood clots developing the day that they traded for Goran Dragic, he really was a steadying influence for this team. He helped get them within one game in 2016 against the Raptors of the Eastern Conference Finals, within 2 victories of a championship against the Lakers when he was injured and couldn't play in those final couple of games until the very few minutes at the end there. So I think what he did, what I don't like, is this team also sort of puts aside some of its other history. So if you're saying to me, what about Glenn Rice or someone like that? I agree. There is a pre-Riley history to this team also that I think needs to get recognized. But yeah, I think Goran Dragic, his tenure was equal to Tim Hardaway's tenure in terms of time.
Ronnie Cycli means more to me than Goran Dragic.
And maybe a guy at the start, maybe you could say playoff-wise and statistically not as much, and the way his coach Kevin Lockery tormented him, but I agree. But yeah, I think Goran is one of those guys, because you know whose jerseys that won up there are the glue guys, the guys who held it together. Zoe held it together. Hardaway held it together. LeBron eventually held it together. Chris Bosh held it together. Dwayne held it together. And Goran Dragic held it together.
Wow. I find the Goran one just to be a little bit of a reach.
You are anti-Slovenian. I'm going to tell Luka.
Exactly. That's what it is. I'm anti-Slovenian. All right. So what are we expecting from the Heat now? What do we expect over the next couple of days here? What are they searching for? A power forward? What's the deal?
There's a couple of things. It's very fascinating. The deal for Kyle Lowry is not done. We know that Goran and Precious Achiuwa are going out, but we don't know how that deal is going to be formed. A lot of thought is eventually Goran gets relocated as part of this deal to the Dallas Mavericks. The Raptors get Dwight Powell, maybe another player back, but that deal could be expanded. So remember when they got Jimmy Butler 2 years ago? They got Jimmy Butler. They agreed to get him. And then they had to find a way to get him. Remember that? They were going to send Goran to Dallas, then Olynyk and Derrick Jones Jr., then Hassan Whiteside went to Portland, Myers Leonard came here, Mo Harkless to the Clippers. That's what they're working through. So I think there will be, after all these machinations, at least one more name that when I come back on Friday for our Acura Pembroke Pines report, you're going to say, Ira, the Heat also added player X. And I think player X will be a rotation player. So what I would say is this. Between today and the 12:01 p.m. start of the signing period on Friday, I think the Miami Heat will add one more known rotation player.
And tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., it is Inside the Paint with Ira Winderman and Clay Ferraro. I'm sure they're going to be covering this extensively. Remember, every Wednesday for 1 hour, you get Ira and you get Clay and hardcore basketball talk. That should be a lot of fun. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. And, of course, you can catch him here 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays right here on the show. Ira, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Oh, I might as well move in over there with you. Thank you, O.
Right, you will. There you go. The great Ira Winderman and the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. All right, good stuff there. So you'll get Ira now 3 times a week. Okay? 3 times a week you will get Ira. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? That is awesome. You get Omar twice. Tomorrow you get Kyle Krabs at 11:30. You get Ira and Clay from 10 to 11. You get Kyle Krabs at 11:30. I mean, you get your Dolphins football fix and your Heat fix and your NBA fix. And it's all year round, man. Year round. Now, what's it called? Clay Ferraro and Ira will be year round every Wednesday talking. Ira will be on year round talking. It'll be Omar year round. It'll be Manny Navarro year round, twice a week. And it'll be Kyle Krabs year round on Wednesdays. And remember, we're at Sports Grill for our Dolphins pre and post game shows. So we'll be doing pre and post over at Sports Grill. So come on out and join us. It'll be Sports Grill on Bird Road and Sports Grill on Miami Lakes. We'll do half the season in one, half the season in the other. And then when the Dolphins get to the playoffs, the Doral location in the Doral City Center should be open, and we will do the playoffs from there. If it's open before the playoffs, then we'll go there because that's probably going to be our permanent home for it. We'll be doing it there all the time. So looking forward to that. It's a beautiful thing. Let's see. What else do we have? Haslam needs to retire already. I have very little excitement for this Heat. We're not winning anything anytime soon. Don't like these desperate moves we've made. It's all they have left. They can't go elite. They're not getting elite players right now. They're not that team right now that can bring elite players. That's been kind of the problem that I've been trying to reach the Heat zombie with, because the Heat zombie thinks that they can sign anybody and everybody. And that's just not the case anymore. That hasn't been the case in several years. In the last few years, he gets a meeting with somebody, but he has no shot at signing them. And then we brag a lot about just the meeting. Well, at least he got the meeting with Durant. But he never had a shot at Durant. So it doesn't matter. So he's giving you a token meeting, big freaking deal. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge, like that was the move you were going to make? Give me a break. And we watched the LaMarcus Aldridge down the stretch. That's not a guy you would have wanted, and yet he didn't want to come either. This team has changed, and these are things that, I know I get the Heat zombie, I guess, needs to see it for a long, long period of time before they start believing it. But, this is kind of what they had to do. They had to settle. And that's kind of what the Heat are settling now for what they can get. They can't reach for the stars anymore because they've got no shot at getting the stars. So this is what they are. And they'll be a respectable team. It'll be blue collar. They'll be fun to watch. They'll be professional, but they're not winning anything big. And, when I told Ira that it's Bam got to become, a superstar, it's hard to imagine that, right? Because he is very passive. He's too passive. But if it's ever going to happen, he's got to come in and take over the damn team and make it his team. Until he does, I don't think they've got a shot at going deep into the playoffs. Says, hey, do you think Tua can go into his own this season? You must have just tuned in. Tua will throw 30 touchdowns this year. Tua's going to ball out, bro. And I get, we get new people in. Last night I got a guy on Twitter and he goes, so now, because he saw my statement about that Tua is going to ball out. It's only a matter of time. And he goes, oh, so you went to practice on Saturday and just from one practice, you think Tua's going to ball, right? And then I went back at him pretty hard because I told him, hey, dumbass, I never said anything about practice. In fact, I talked about practice being a joke. I've been saying Tua's going to ball for a year now, okay? I'm not the guy that flusters one way or the other on this whole thing and changes his mind. Oh, no, I stay with my convictions, okay? And I've been strong on this for a year now, and I've been convinced that Tua is going to be a baller. I don't need any kind of whatever people are watching, because all of a sudden now in training camp, people are saying, wow, his arm is livelier. Wow, he looks better now, all that. By the way, who told you for a year or 9 months or 10 months, who was saying on this show that, hey, listen, when this guy comes back now, they're going to see a better guy because his core is going to be healthy. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be more athletic. People are going to say, oh, his arm's better now. No, his arm's not better. His arm was fine. It's just his core is better now, so he can put more onto it because that's where it comes from. But if your hip gets sliced up in the offseason, it's going to take a while for that to heal. That's why judging him last year when he clearly wasn't even close to 100% is asinine. So, and then the guy was like, well, you're the guy who used to pick on people for judging practices without pads. And I said, I wasn't judging anything on practice. I'm saying it because I know that kid's going to be a baller. And hell, I'm one of the few people that say he had a great year last year. I don't care what anybody tells me. When you have no offseason, you're coming back from a hip surgery, and you're going to go play in the NFL in less than a year from that surgery? Get the hell out of here, dude. He was terrific last year. People don't give Tua enough credit for what he did last year and for what he accomplished last year. As much as people want to talk about Justin Herbert would have never been able to do what Tua did last year. And after all of that, as I've already proven before, go look at the schedules. Tua had better wins, quality wins, and won more games than Herbert. But it's so everybody's so quick, like, oh, Herbert had a great year. I wish Tua was like that. Yeah, I want to see Herbert come back from a hip surgery like the way Tua did. Nobody ever says that. So Tua's going to be a freaking baller. I'm not worried about that. Tua's going to be one of the more savvy and creative quarterbacks back there in the pocket when there's chaos. All of this will rear its head this season. You'll start seeing it all. People will calm down. The people that overreacted last year, you'll see them because they'll be walking around all over town and they got egg on their face and they look really stupid because they were saying all kinds of stupid shit last year about Tua. So I hope that answers your question about Tua. I don't need to see practice. I know what this kid's all about. The only thing I've ever worried about with him is his injury history. That's it. I'm not worried about his arm. I'm not worried about his height. I'm not worried about anything when it comes to football with this kid. He's a baller. It's just, you got to give him some time, man. He's a human being. We have a microwave society. We want instant gratification. And if you don't give it to me instantly, then you have failed me, basically. That's kind of the way people are nowadays. Tua will be fine. Okay? All right. Hour number 2 is next. Give me a minute here to turn things around and get ready for hora número 2.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group, Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All right, we are ready for hour number 3 here. We thank you all for joining us. We'll get Manny Navarro in hour number 2. I'm sorry. We'll get Manny Navarro in hour number 3. This is hour number 2, and I appreciate all of you out there at camp. By the way, just to give you a little bit of injury news, Jalen Phillips with a lower body injury is not practicing. Barry Jackson does report that he is doing push-ups. No Devontae Parker, no Will Fuller, no X, and that's it. All right, so there you go. Fuller, by the way, Flores said that Fuller is nothing major, but he has missed 6 straight practices already as it is. Get his ass out on the field and start getting it done is what we need to see. Anyway, so those are some of the things going on in camp. We'll keep you updated with any news that may break from camp. If there's actually any kind of breaking news, and we'll reach out to Omar Kelly and we'll get him on to give us the breakdown on anything that's going on. But it's a big day because they've got pads on today with the Miami Dolphins, and that's going to be a lot of fun for those folks that went out there to go check it out, and we will see. Shobi Kane says, I said it to Big O. He had a great year under the circumstances. Yeah. You talking about Tua? Hells to the yeah. Hell yeah. I don't think people don't give Tua enough love. I don't get this stuff, man. I don't really understand anything about this. Let's see. Herman says, by the way, Travis Winfield gave you a shout out in the podcast the other day. Oh, okay. Travis is a good kid, man. He does a nice job, works hard, works the film room stuff, knows his football. He's a terrific young man. And I'm happy to see him get the gig, and he's been there with the Dolphins now a couple of years. He does a really good job overall breaking down football, man. He's a smart kid. I like him. Let's see, what else do we have here? And I sat next to him. We talked a little bit on Saturday, actually. We were talking about the silliness around Tua, actually, if I remember correctly. We were talking about that it's just the criticism and the extremes are crazy. Alex Diaz says, good afternoon. Oh, yep. The Heat downgraded, and we think Knicks upgraded. Do you think it's concerning on how bad the D has looked without Howard? Not sure if you saw Kelly's tweet. They're not hitting, bro. I'm not worried. I'm not overreacting on a week of no pads and not practicing without pads. I'm not doing any of that because we don't see the pass rush. Pass rush goes with the secondary. You can't leave secondary guys out there hanging out to dry to run around. I saw it on Saturday. There were several plays that Tua completed a pass that he would have been on his ass because it was a sack. I'm sitting there going, sack, sack. I didn't care. The crowd then cheers with the pass, but I'm saying sack. So the pass means nothing to me whatsoever at that point. Why? Because it was a sack already. So I'm not looking into that because you think about it. If it was a sack, then the secondary would have never gotten burned. Right? So again, there is no reaction in this show from this host on practices without pads. I've been at this for over 30 years, dude. I've been a beat guy. I know this sport pretty well. I know how to measure it, I think. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to get some stuff wrong, but once in a while I'll get it right. And if there's something that I've learned over the years in football, if there are no pads, then they're playing football like you and I, touch football. And that's not how you play the game, so you can't measure it that way. So I'm not overreacting to anything that I see positive or negative on the field without any hitting going on. Herb was asking, what up with K Nunn? I don't know. We will find out if they're even going to keep him or use him in some kind of a sign and trade, or I have no idea what the hell is going to happen with Kendrick Nunn, or if they're going to match anything that he gets, I think, because I think they can. Something along that line. Alex says, that's why I love listening to your show. Well, thank you, sir. We try to keep it real, man. I can't wait to see how my Arizona Cardinals will do this year. That'll be interesting. I think the quarterback needs to take another step forward because he does some stuff, but not enough yet. Lisa Rose says, can I get a big O fam shout out for my godson Brandon and his Canyon Creek, San Raymond, California U10 team for winning the Northern California State Title Little League baseball championship this weekend. So congratulations to Brandon and Canyon Creek. Way to go, Canyon Creek. Yeah, baby. There's your shout out. Canyon Creek. That actually is a pretty cool name. What about if we do beat Alabama? Their quarterback is unproven. How does things change that for the UM program? Well, if they beat Alabama, then sky's the limit for them, right? That's all. Sky's the limit. But dude, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and start telling you. If put it this way, do you think that Miami's talent is better than Alabama's? Do you think Miami's coaching staff is anywhere near Saban? End of the story. Okay? That's all you need to know. Who's got the talent? Who's got the coaching staff? How do you overcome that? I get it, man. Some of you're fanatics. That's why you're fans. And you're like this, it's you're like this. Here we go. Like the guy just, because you want to try to convince yourselves that you can actually win the Alabama game.
Blind ass fan alert. Look out, everyone. We've got a blind ass fan coming through.
Look, we all go through these stages, right? We're hopeful. We love our teams and all that kind of stuff. And you're fans. And you refuse to be objective about anything, right? Because you're going to try to spin it however you can. And I get it. I understand. But I've watched Manny lose against lesser teams. I've seen him struggle badly to beat lesser teams. All of a sudden, the guy that's most prepared in college football, the best coach in the history of college football, is coming to town. Not coming, but you know what I mean. You're taking on the team with the best talent in the country. I don't care that they lost a bunch of people. They're where the Canes were in the 80s and the 90s. They just reload. That's the difference. And you know what? maybe the young man answering that, because I have to also think about this now, okay? Anybody that's kind of learned football the last 20 years, because you're 25 or 30, you don't know what reloading is. You've never seen it before in your life. You've watched it from a distance for other teams, but you never saw it in Coral Gables because it's been 20 years since they were the kind of team that reloaded. So there's a lot of young people that they don't know what the hell that's like. So maybe they're on this chat board. The guy's 25, 30, 35, doesn't really know much about it. Barely saw it. The 35-year-old barely saw it. Think about this. The 35-year-old was 15 at the beginning of this century. You know what I mean? There's not a lot. So if you're older, then you know what the hell I'm talking about. Man, I'd love to sit here and tell you, yeah, no, UM's got a shot and UM this and UM that, but I can't, because Manny has not allowed me to think that way. Manny has not allowed me to feel that way. As much as I wanted Manny to coach the team, he has made me feel worse every single week about it. I've never felt good about Manny. In fact, it gets worse as the games have gone on, as the 2 years have gone on. And if he lets me down again this year, I got to tell you something. I'm completely off the bandwagon for Manny. Completely. If he lets me down this year, you need to fire his ass. They won't, but you need to fire his ass. Okay? If there are more disappointments from Manny Diaz this year, his ass needs to get fired. Understand that. If you can't win in the ACC with 19 of 22 players coming back, and you can't, forget about Alabama. If you can't beat North Carolina after losing everybody that they've lost, I know they've got the quarterback, but they lost the receivers, the running backs, they lost a bunch of people. If you can't beat North Carolina with all the experience you have, and they don't, that's the one I have a problem with. I can't realistically expect an Alabama win. Hell, I'm just hoping you keep it within 20. Okay? They lose by 17. You know what I'm going to be telling you? Canes actually did all right. They hung in there. Believe it or not, that's what I'm going to say about the Canes against Alabama. I have no hope there. I shouldn't have any hope. I shouldn't have any expectations because they don't have the talent to beat Alabama and they don't have the coaching staff to beat Alabama. But North Carolina, you better beat them. You better beat them. And you better not lose to anybody else on your schedule. You better beat everybody else on your schedule. That's the way I look at it. This is the year for Manny to show me something. He hasn't shown me shit in 2 years. His off seasons are terrific. All the hype comes with it. But when the regular season rolls around, his teams are constantly unprepared. They're constantly underachieving. That's not the kind of coaching that's going to win at an incredibly high level. And that's the reason why they haven't been at an incredibly high level in 20 years. Because they don't have the right coach anymore. So that's the way I look at it. It's not about Alabama. It's about North Carolina right now. You got to bring the bar down and be realistic. The Alabama one, don't torture yourself with that, man. George says, I did the same thing, Big O, watching sack. So don't be surprised if the offense take a step back because they're actually in pads now. Yeah, it's just anybody that's judging practices without pads, you're out of your mind. Let's see, what else do we have? Shobi Kane says, facts, Big O. I mean, it's just there's nothing wrong with expecting Manny to beat North Carolina. That's all. I don't think I'm asking for much. I don't think I'm asking for much to win the Coastal. I'm not Look, man, I've already lowered my demands, right, for many years now. I'm not demanding you to win the ACC because I know you can't. You're not good enough. They got Clemson. You're not anywhere near Clemson. So why am I going to see? Here's the thing. If they're not anywhere near Clemson, how in the hell do you think they're by Alabama? You know what I mean, they can't compete with Clemson, and yet you're going to try to convince yourselves that they're going to be up against Alabama? Oh, why? Because they lost people? Come on, man. You've been reading, by the way, that apparently the quarterback that they got now, he's apparently really, really good. Which that's the other thing that's changed with Saban. Have you noticed? He's gone from those game managing type quarterbacks that he was winning national titles with those guys. But now he's moved over to a more dynamic quarterback. And that's what, with Jalen Hurts and with Tua and all that started now. Right? And Mac Jones now. And so he's recruiting a higher level quarterback nowadays. And apparently the kid they have now, they say he's better than Mac Jones. That at this point where they see him, he's ahead of Mac Jones. So don't torture yourself over the Canes and Alabama. Torture yourselves if the Canes don't beat North Carolina. That shows you the program has made zero progress. I don't care what the practice facility looks like. I don't care about what 5-star, 4-star recruit they got. None of that means jack crap for me. You don't beat North Carolina, that tells me you're not the coach. That's like me. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and Brian Kelly gets us 10-plus wins, but we will never win a national title because he does not recruit a lot of the top talent as it's expected. Well, Craig, it's Notre Dame, dude. It's hard, bro. Stanford, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt. I know Vanderbilt, it can't be at that level, but my point is the schools that you actually have to hit the books, you have to find great talent that's also very smart and book smart and wants to actually study. So that's the challenge for Notre Dame too. It's a little harder in Notre Dame than it is in most schools. So then the student, it's like Stanford can get Andrew Luck, but they're not going to find, 10 or 12 of those so they can put on their team. If they had 10 or 12 Andrew Lucks, one at receiver and another one at defensive end, another one at center, another one at left tackle, and they were Andrew Luck type, that's what Alabama gets, right? Alabama gets those guys. But, academically, the challenges at Alabama are not the same as Notre Dame. Let's just be honest. I don't care about this hating of Notre Dame. I hate Notre Dame too, okay? Just so you'll know, who's the guy that sent it in? Craig, I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but hey, man, I'm going to be brutally honest here, okay? It's a lot harder to win in schools that academically it's a little bit more of a challenge. It's just hard, man. It just is. If you have a higher academic standard and you're Stanford, it's just going to be that much harder than it is at Oregon and than it is at Washington and that it is certainly at USC. Come on, man. It's a different ball game. So Brian Kelly, under the circumstances, is doing an excellent job because they're tough. Now, if Brian Kelly wants to be like Thuffering Thuckatash and go out and cheat like crazy because he cheated pretty much wherever the hell he was, okay, and I'm talking about the old man. Now I'm brain farting now. What was the name of the old man with Tony Rice and company that he's on TV and always with the lisp? What's his damn name? What's the old man's name now? And you know who I'm talking about. Some of you may know who the hell I'm talking about. Somebody will bring it up now on the damn chat board and help me out with it. But that dude, if you want to be like him, then yeah, you might be able to win a national title at Notre Dame because you probably did some. Lou Holtz. Thank you, Craig. What? The Notre Dame fan came in. Lou Holtz, if you want to do that, because, sweet Lou cut corners wherever he was at. Didn't matter where he was coaching. Yeah, you put your team at risk, but Notre Dame's not going to do that. They're not that kind of university. So it's a little harder there, man. It's a little harder. Let's see. Big Rig says, "What's up, Big O and all the friends in the chat?" There you go. Thank you, sir. I've been out Manny Diaz and his coaching staff. I've been out on Manny Diaz and his coaching staff for 2 seasons now. He's Al Golden 2.0. A lot of people feel the same way, dude. Manny gets taken to the woodshed by experienced head coaches every effing time. I see another 3-loss season again. Yeah, well, if that happens again, I will be leading the charge saying, you got to fire his ass. But it won't happen. It won't happen. He can have another mediocre season and they will not fire him because Blake James puts him on the hot seat and Blake James is on the hot seat. Now, I think a 4th year is where it might start to stir the pot and actually get, and remember, they're also, money-wise, they're not a rich team. They don't have that kind of money that Alabama has, that they can just write checks off and, buy people out and things like that. That's not the University of Miami, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the sad part, that even if he does have another mediocre season this year, there's 0 chance that Manny Diaz gets fired. But I will be completely off the bandwagon this year with another mediocre year. That's just the way it is, man. Big O, I want a coach that can beat Alabama, not North Carolina. Yeah, I know that, but for right now, it's not realistic. There's no coach that's going to beat Alabama with this team right now. Just be honest with yourself. Okay, let's call it like we see it. You got to build it up. So in order for you to get to Alabama, you first got to beat North Carolina. You first got to get comfortable here in the ACC where you're winning and getting to the ACC championship, and then you're beating Clemson. And then when you can get to that point, now you're ready to beat an Alabama. But for now, the step you got to take, you don't go from crawling to hauling ass, right? You go from crawling to walking and holding the walls to keep you, so putting your hands on the walls to hold yourself up. And then as you build the walk, and then you start walking faster, and then you can run, right? Well, you want to go from crawling to hauling ass, Usain Bolt style. And you don't go from when you're crawling to go beat Alabama. Doesn't happen. So you need to walk first. And walking is beating North Carolina. And then maybe you can start jogging by competing with Clemson. And then when you can haul ass, then you're ready to go compete with Alabama. There's a process here. I would love to get, again, microwave society. We want it done overnight. Not going to happen. The program's been dog crap for years now. Okay, let's just be honest now. It's been a mediocre program for a long, long time. It's hard to resurrect from mediocre to greatness. And in order for you to beat Alabama, we're talking greatness. That's the difference. Craig says that ACC has always been a basketball conference. Well, Craig, once UM and FSU lost their way, the ACC became just absolutely terrible. But if FSU and UM would be FSU and UM again, and then Clemson is Clemson, then that would change the entire face of the conference, because now you would have 3 elite teams, and there aren't a lot of conferences that can sport 3 elite teams. So that's where that would be a real plus. But really, the demise of the University of Miami and Florida State have completely crippled what the ACC could be. That's, again, just brutal honesty. I'm sorry. I would say beat Clemson and then Ohio State and then Alabama. But Tom, you're right. But the point is, once you can compete with Clemson and Ohio State or even beat them, then you're ready to take on Alabama and maybe even beat them too. But you can't get there without beating North Carolina first. First you gotta build up the confidence to get to over North Carolina. Okay, now we can win the Coastal. All right, we won the Coastal. Now let's try to win the ACC. Okay, we won the ACC. Now let's get into the playoffs and let's beat Alabama for a national title. It's a process, and it's going to take a few years to get there. You're not doing it this year. This year, the most we can ask for them to do is to win every other game outside of the Alabama game, beat North Carolina, and win the Coastal. If you don't win the Coastal, then you're a complete disappointment. If you don't beat North Carolina, then you're an embarrassment. There's really no other way of putting it. You're a flat-out embarrassment if you lose to North Carolina. And we'll talk to Manny Navarro about that at 12:30. Okay? He putting pressure on football teams again to be competitive. Nah. I don't think so. Andy, the Heat have already put the pressure on everybody else in town. They've got 3 titles. Okay? Yes, I know the Dolphins have 2, but that was like 4,000 years ago when I was a pup. Okay? When I was a little tot, when I was 7 and 8 years old, that's when they won the title. So those titles to me are just they're that's too long ago already at this point. So the Heat's already put plenty of pressure on all the other pro teams in town. They're light years ahead of everybody else. Okay? I think Stephen Ross wants to win. He doesn't give a crap about not that he feels any negative against the Heat, but what the Heat are doing put zero pressure on Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross has his own pressure because you can tell how much money does a guy spend. I mean, has Stephen Ross has he not proven over and over and over again that he wants to win as badly as anybody out there? The guy buys any player you need. He gets any coach you need. He improves the hell out of that stadium. He builds a brand new practice facility. Nobody is more dedicated to their team than Stephen Ross. Vinny Viola and Doug Sifu, nobody's more dedicated to their team than those guys. They don't need to see what the Heat are doing. They've bought the expensive goaltender. They've traded for players. They've paid all their young guys. They're building a beautiful facility out by the War Memorial, all of that. They've done everything you can possibly do as owners to try to improve. They made a monster trade this offseason to add another star player to their team. In fact, I would argue that the Panthers got closer to competing for a Stanley Cup than the Miami Heat did. This offseason, the Panthers have had the better offseason than the Heat. The Panthers were better than the Heat last year, and they'll be better than the Heat again this year. Okay? Miami couldn't beat Milwaukee in one game. Florida beat Tampa Bay twice. And they won the regular season series. They can compete with Tampa. They just weren't as loaded as Tampa. Now they did, and actually Tampa won't be as loaded as they were last year. Now they're going to lose guys, and Miami has added another star player to their team that's going to help them out, or Florida has added. So I don't think that the Heat put any single pressure on any of these teams because Viola and Sifu want to win as badly as Mickey Harrison. And Stephen Ross wants to win as badly as Viola and Sifu and as bad as Mickey Harrison. The Marlins have not shown us that. Jorge Mas wants to win as badly as all of those guys. I've been around the man. Trust me. He's a good dude. He'll win. He'll eventually figure it out. Unfortunately, Mas and company made a ton of mistakes. They buried their team for the first couple of years now. They're going to be mediocre again next year. Unless they completely swallow salaries and get rid of Pizarro and get rid of Matuidi, which they should, and open up those salary slots, but then we're asking the man to swallow millions of dollars, which he already has because he built that stadium when he didn't have he doesn't get his MLS stadium for a couple of years, and he made a USL stadium into an MLS stadium. Put another $150 million into that place. He cares. He doesn't need to see the Heat. So I don't believe the Heat have put any pressure on those kind of teams. They want to win because they want to win. Can't say that about the Marlins. Marlins haven't proven to us that they want to win yet. Okay, when they start spending money, then I'll believe that they want to win. At this point, not even close to being convinced that they want to win. Sorry, Big O. Hurricanes have never been anything in the ACC. That's not true, sir. The basketball team won the ACC a couple times. You should have said football. You're right, by the way. Football. They've been the Miami Hurricanes have been straight out garbage in the ACC. Is what they've been. Diaz hasn't backed up his words. Yeah, no, he hasn't even come close to backing up his words. Let's see, what else do we have here that we want to talk about? All right, so we talked about the Heat. I gave you my opinions on all the changes, told you what I think they need in order to win a title. You know, Goran Dragic, I got to say, the Goran Dragic retirement number, I completely disagree. Seriously, you know how I think the Heat have kind of lowered their standards now, that they're settling for these kind of players now, and they're not really getting the stars anymore. They're not getting any superstars to come here. They can't trade for a superstar either. Well, for me, when I look at Goran Dragic, he doesn't belong in that Alonzo Mourning category. He doesn't belong in the Tim Hardaway category. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about Wade. I'm not going to talk about LeBron. I'm not even going to talk about Bosh. I'm sorry. Goran Dragic is a nice player. Plenty of heart. I enjoyed watching him play. Okay, he played hard, man. I admire him. But I admired James Posey, too. I admired Sherman Douglas. It's like I told Ira, I'd rather put Cycli up there more than I'd rather put Goran Dragic. It's almost like it's like a circumstantial type of thing, what we're doing with Goran Dragic, because he came in after the big three and he was supposed to be part of the next group of star players, but it didn't work out with the blood clot and all that. But then, there were some moments, and because there were some moments that we've got to like appreciate that, and really there wasn't much accomplished. And I know last year was the pinnacle, getting to the NBA Finals, but that was kind of flukish, and in the end he broke down. And that's kind of been his story too as of late. There's been a lot of breaking down. Solid player, dude. Good acquisition, good player for the Heat. Is he the guy that I want hanging up in the rafters? I have to disagree with that. I think that's lowering your standards on who you put up there. The Dolphins, it's the Marx Brothers, it's Marino, it's Greasy, it's Zonka. You know what I mean? It's like the creme de la creme. Is Goran Dragic the creme de la creme that you've had in your organization? Like, UD deserves to be up there. But what did UD do in the NBA Finals against Dirk Nowitzki? He helped slow that dude down. I mean, UD was a heck of a player for a long time until the foot injury. Once he had that foot injury, his career completely got lost. He never recovered from that foot injury. Never, ever was a player again after that foot injury. But up until that foot injury, the dude was a hell of a player. And he's been a lifetime of the Heat here, almost 20 years a Heat player. That's different than, what was it, 6-7 year run for Goran? I just kind of feel it's no slight against Goran. I enjoyed him as a player. I love him as a Heat player. I will always cherish the time that he was here. I respect him as a player, as an athlete, as a competitor. I respect all of that. But there's a standard that should be set and met if you're going to put somebody up in the rafters. And I'm sorry, I don't feel like Goran's gotten that far. I have signature moments that I remember Tim Hardaway winning big games, big moments that way. I've just, to me, I like him, but it's like Tim Hardaway for me is kind of like, that's like the line right there in the sand. You've got to be better than Tim Hardaway to get in there. And there's no way in hell that I'm picking Goran Dragic over Tim Hardaway. No way in hell. So I don't understand the talk of retiring his number. I don't believe he belongs there. I believe you should honor him. I believe when he comes to town, you can have some fun, whatever, and thank him for his time and play a video, memories of him and all that kind of stuff. But raising his number to the rafters? Go look at the numbers the Lakers retire. That's the Riley has to kind of take a step back because the Marino thing and the Michael Jordan and those things are honored, not necessarily retired, but it just gets to a point where it becomes a little cheesy and you're almost doing it just to do it, just to come up with some kind of a celebration. And I'm not putting Goran Dragic's number up there. I just don't feel that he belongs in the upper echelon of the elite Heat players because that's what the Dolphins have. They have the elite players that played in their franchise. I don't look at Goran Dragic as elite. That's a guy that may have snuck in as an all-star with 67 people getting injured. That's not the kind of number you hang from your rafters. I'm sorry. Now, if it's a guy at lifetime, a guy that had big moments in an NBA finals game, then yeah, UD is different. But Goran, for me, it's just you're falling a little short there. I get you, Big O. What I mean is I don't believe Manny Diaz is the guy who will ever beat Alabama. He needs to be replaced with someone else. Who? Hell if I know. R-Rod, the question is, will they have the money to find that kind of guy? You know what I mean? Because that's the history of the University of Miami football program, and the success they've had was usually with guys that were kind of unknown or hadn't gotten that chance. But if you're going to ask for an established guy that's already been there and done it, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. And I don't know if they have that kind of money. But I get what you're saying, R-Rod. Lane Kiffin would have been a better coach. He would be great for offensive-minded recruiter, big-name coach. Alexander, I can't argue that. I'd love to have a discussion with you back and forth and tell you, Manny Diaz is still a little better choice than Lane Kiffin, this and that. But no, you're right. It's what I say about Butch Davis all the time, right? Because we got a bunch of fans that got their heads completely up their asses with Butch Davis, right? So many of you fans, you have been stupidly fooled. I don't even know if that's a term, but I'm going to use it for you because you actually think that guy's a good coach. And he had his moments as a recruiter here and all that stuff. But when he went to North Carolina, he didn't win jack shit. What, that he could beat Randy Shannon or Al Golden? That's not an accomplishment. I don't even know. Was he there for Al Golden? No, he was there only for Randy, right? But either way, was that's winning something? Because he won nothing in North Carolina. And then he's gone to FIU, and he can't even dominate in that conference. Where Lane Kiffin dominated in that conference. So Lane showed me a hell of a lot more than Butch Davis. But there's some of you out there, boy, woo, you've convinced yourselves like Butch is some genius with X's and O's. Freaking hilarious. So yeah, you're right, actually. Lane Kiffin is a better selection than Manny Diaz. Now, let me tell you something. I would have called you crazy 2 years ago when they brought back Manny Diaz. I would have said, nah, hell no. Manny Diaz is going to be a really good coach. He was an excellent defensive coordinator. He's got the energy. He understands the program. He bleeds the program, yada, yada. I would have given you all that bullshit. And boy, I would have been wrong. Dead wrong. Lane Kiffin's a better coach. You're right. You're actually right. His goofiness and his craziness on social media and all that stuff, and he's kind of an awkward dude at times and all that, but I can't argue with you on that one. yeah, Lane Kiffin would have been better to select than Manny Diaz. In hindsight, I'm saying that. I got to admit, because I know myself, I probably would not have agreed with you 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was as gung-ho as all of you, or a lot of you were, about Manny Diaz. 2 years later, I'm completely off that bandwagon, dude. You know? Well, almost completely. This season will probably kick me completely off that bandwagon when it's all said and done, because I don't really, he doesn't give me hope, bro. He hasn't shown me that. See, Flores shows me he's an effing coach, dude, all the time. Especially that first year where he tore that team down with Greer to the bone. They barely had any talent on that field. Their best player was injured all year, X, even though he thinks he played 2 years ago, but he didn't. But he thinks he played. And so all they did was get better every single week. That was, as I get separated from that season more and more, I become more and more impressed with that season. Okay. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, it's 5 games. No, dude, you have to look at it for what it is. That team had no talent. They were out after like the 3rd or 4th week. They were competitive in every game. And then they started winning games. And then to win in New England, that shows me you're an effing coach, bro. You beat the GOAT in his backyard when he needed the win to go to the bye week, and you beat him? You beat your mentor? Holy crap. I don't have one of those moments with Manny Diaz so far. I have several with that guy, and it's only been 2 years. And he goes from 5 wins to 10 wins. And again, same thing. His teams get better as the year goes on. You want to play Flo early. When he hasn't figured out his team yet and he's still getting everybody acclimated and all that kind of stuff, you don't want to play Flo in November and December. Kind of like Belichick, by the way. New England kind of starts in flux with Brady in the era of Brady. They would kind of start a little iffy, right? And then they would get better. And then, oh, wow, the Patriots are only 2-2. Oh, the Patriots are 3-2. Wow. And then by November, they're 11-4. And you're like, wait a minute. They had 2 or 3 losses in the first month. How come they only have 4 now? And we're in December, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I see it in Flo. I don't see it in Manny. Bro, you think that they are going to get a superstar? Adrian, I have no idea. Are you talking about the Heat? No. Big O, where would you rank Ricky Williams in the Dolphin franchise history? Good player. I wouldn't retire his number. He wasn't here long enough. Hell of a player. Those 2 years. Remember, and we're only talking about 2 years. They were phenomenal. Greatest running back I've ever seen since Zonka. To be honest, most impressive, because Zonka, obviously, watching him carry 86 people, and there aren't really that many people on the opponent's side of the field, but it seemed like there were 86 people on top of him, and he's just carrying you for an extra 10 yards. That was impressive. But Ricky Williams, the dreadlock demon, as Howard David would say, yes, that was incredibly impressive. But I'm not retiring his number. It's too short. Just in case if you were leading in that direction. But yeah, love Ricky Williams. Love what he did here. But it was a very short stint here. And they won 0, squat, nothing. Big O, do you think Norvell is a good coach for FSU? What I've been doing, his second year of recruiting has been doing good. Eugene, we'll see, my brother. I don't know enough about him to say whether he's good or bad. I need to see more. And recruiting doesn't mean jack crap to me. None of that means anything to me. Show me that you develop the players. Show me that they become much better players. They get drafted high. Show me that kind of stuff. I don't care that you get a 4 or 5-star guy. He may turn out to be nothing. And maybe it's because of you, or maybe it's because you recruited the wrong 4 or 5-star guy. I have no idea. But I don't go by any offseason. I don't go by any recruiting. No, I go by results. So let me see what Norville does over the next year or two, and then we can find out. I look back at that season and wonder, how did we win 5 games and realize that Flores is going to win a Super Bowl or 2? Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that 1,000%. When I saw that first year, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That one I will not argue with you at all. There's no doubt in my mind that Flo is a Super Bowl type coach when it's all said and done. So yeah. Let's see. By the way, Barry says Waddle continues to flourish on screens from Tua as expected. Will be fun tracking Yak for Waddle. Wilson off screens this season. Omar says Bernardrick McKinney is having an active day. You get a tackle, you get a tackle, you get a tackle. Everyone gets a tackle. And he's got the Oprah thing. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Okay, so good stuff there. I don't know what else I see from camp that I can pass on. Let's see. When you're factoring in who is the final receiver to make the 53-man roster, never forget special team roles. That player has to be special team standout, which is why this battle comes down to Matt Collins and Jakeem Graham for number 6. Well, Omar, if that's the case, then there is no competition. Let's see. One of the 3 best returners in the NFL, or just a guy that can cover kicks? Yeah, I kind of think, one of the greatest returners in the NFL right now. I think you keep him. That's not even up for debate. If that's going to be what you're going to measure it by, then no. And on the first day of padded practice, Adam Butler, John Jenkins, and Bernardrick McKinney showed up for inside run drills. I like John Jenkins. And Bernardrick McKinney, let me tell you something. I know they've talked about having him rush the passer or drop back in coverage, which I don't think you even have Bernardrick McKinney drop back in coverage. You know what I love about the McKinney thing? When you understand football and you don't understand football, there are things that people will say, right? And you'll hear somebody say, well, the Dolphins had to rework the deal for Bernardrick McKinney. They're not honoring any contracts. They want X to honor his contract, but they don't honor this one. Okay, so let me ask you something. Again, let's understand the effing game of football, okay? Bernardrick McKinney can't cover. Bernardrick McKinney is not a pass rusher. Do you know what Bernardrick McKinney is? And Flo knows this, okay? But I'll tell you what goes through his mind, what goes through Greer's mind. He's Brandon Flowers. I think is that the Florida linebacker? Is there any Gator fans watching? Was his name Brandon Flowers? He was a 2-down linebacker for them. Why do I think Flowers might be the wrong name? Maybe it is Brandon, I think. Now I'm brain farting. But anyway, that guy was a 2-down linebacker. And they kept around for a couple years. And to me, that's what McKinney is. McKinney's a 2-down linebacker. He's a thumper. He's a guy that's going to knock in your sock. Okay? He's going to whack you. And then when you get up, you're going to notice your balls are inside your sack of your socks because he knocked the shit out of you. That's what he is. He's a run stuffer. He's a guy that is going to put his head right in the middle. No, not Hightower. Hightower is really good. No. It was Brandon something. Brandon Spikes. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Brandon Spikes. I knew that Flowers. That's the singer for the Killers, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Brandon Flowers is the singer for the Killers. I get the singer for the Killers and Brandon Spikes, the Florida linebacker that went to the Patriots. Spikes is Bernardrick McKinney. And that's what Flo is envisioning. A thumper that I can put in for first and second down. He'll knock the crap out of the guard. He'll penetrate. He'll disrupt. He'll stop. He'll run blitz. He'll make sure that the run doesn't happen because he's got a knack for it and he loves contact. So let me ask you something. If Houston, led by Bill O'Brien, is stupid enough to pay him that kind of money, why should Miami do it? I'm just asking. So if you know what kind of player he is, then why would you pay him for something he can't do? They pay $7 million to Agba, who can get after the quarterback and get you 9. Oh, but you want to pay 7 for a guy that can't get after the quarterback or cover? I love McKinney. I love the pickup, but I love him in where he's supposed to be. And you're going to see that some bitch on short yardage, goal line, all of those things. And you're going to go, holy crap. That guy's a player, but he's limited. He's really good. He excels in certain parts of his game. And there are other things that you don't really want him doing. And dropping back in coverage is one of them. And I don't believe he's much of a pass rusher. Maybe he'll pick up a sack or two because Jalen Phillips and Agba and Van Ginkel and all that may bring some attention, and he might get freed up once in a while, and he'll pick up a couple sacks for you. But he's not going to get a ton of sacks for you, and he's not going to cover a damn thing out of the backfield. So he acquires a player, and so does Flo, and they already have a vision of how they want to use him, but there's a price tag that goes with the way they want to use him. Now, the person that doesn't understand this game will tell you, well, they made him take a pay cut. Well, you're damn right they made him take a pay cut because they're not going to use him the way they think others may want to use him because he's not that guy. He's Brandon Spikes. But if you don't follow the game and you don't understand it, then you'll start they didn't honor the contract. I mean, all of a sudden now we're picking on the Dolphins for being great at managing their money. Because most of the time they do favorable deals for them, for the team. Last time I checked, don't we root for the team? Right? Don't we want the team to do well? I know I do. So if I'm going to tell you that the Heat wasn't very smart in signing Butler to a 4-year contract because he's old already at this point, and Kyle Lowry 3 years for $90 million, well, then what am I going to tell you on the other side, right? If I like the move, I'm going to talk about it. If I don't like the move, I'm going to talk about it. And the way I see the Dolphins managing their cap, I'm a hell of a lot more comfortable than how the Heat manages their cap right now. I like the player decision on the Dolphins side more than the Heat side. How do you like them apples? Think about that. Just let that one marinate. When was the last effing time we could say that? So that's, to me, that's the beauty of all of this. Oh, they didn't honor his contract. Well, of course they didn't honor his contract, dude. Don't you know what kind of player that is? He's a run stuffer. You don't pay a run stuffer that kind of money. That's Bill O'Brien's fault. That's his fault. Not ours. And if he wants to give you 4,000 picks for Tunsil, here you go, bro. How about it? So the Dolphins are supposed to be as stupid as some other teams. It's like, I never understand that kind of stuff. Why don't we just call things like they are? And let's give people credit for what they do. And if you don't do it right, then say it. But if you're doing it right, like the Bernardrick McKinney one, it's amazing to me. Oh, they're not honoring his contract. Yeah, he's a limited player. He's really good at run stuffing. That's it. It ends there. Hey-oh. I don't know, but I thought I heard Jalen Phillips has an injury. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, it says lower body. Brandon, I got Brandon in the mind. Barry Jackson said that he was doing push-ups out there. So I don't know how bad it is. Maybe it's just something minimal and they want to be, conservative with it. We'll see. Let's give it a couple days. It's still early, bro. Let's not freak out too much here on that. George says Spikes was a physical beast. Yes. And so is Bernardrick. Bernardrick is going to knock the crap out of you. You'll see. You guys will see. He's a thumper, dude. I like him, but I know what he is. Derek Bone Break says, just want to say hi and thanks for the broad perspective and backing opinions. New pounce on those like buttons. That's right, baby. Smash the hell out of that like button. We need you guys to smash it, and the like button too. Okay, please smash it. Oh, we crossed 100 too. I like it. I like it. Let's see. Isai says, so what is it that's practice? You'll see everyone is different spots every day. Oh, well, sometimes they move guys around to try them at different positions, which, by the way, that could be just what they're doing with Eichenberg. They might want to play him a little bit since he hasn't settled in at right tackle yet, but maybe they want to use him a little bit to see how he does on the left side. That's all. It also could be experimenting too. A lot of this early on could be experiments on the offensive line. You know, some people, you look at that and you say, oh my God, Dieter's a starter. Well, maybe not. Maybe they want to give Dieter the opportunity because he's been here for a couple of years. And they say, okay, you know, Michael, we believe in you. We drafted you. We're going to give you the opportunity first and foremost to win the center job. We brought in a veteran in Skura, but we're going to give you a shot. You know, that could be what it is. Jesse Davis has been here for a long time. He's a professional. Maybe they want to give him a legitimate shot. And then if he's not as good, then they'll move in somebody else on that side, whoever it might be, Hunt, Eichenberg, whatever. I don't know. So there might be a lot of experimentation going on too right now on the O-line. I would not read into anything whatsoever on the O-line until we get into the preseason and maybe into game 2 of the preseason, because then we'll start to get a feel for what they're really settling in on. Even game 1, there might be some experiments going on. Let's see. Thought on Bills potentially moving to Austin, Texas. That would be a shame. That would be a real shame. I hope it doesn't happen. You know, selfishly, the weather's better for Miami to go to Austin instead of Buffalo. I get all of that. But I don't blame, you know, it's kind of like the Browns. I have a hard time blaming fans when they've been so fantastic. And they've supported your team and they're super passionate and they love their team. And they do that in Buffalo, bro. They love their team. They loved it in Cleveland. And then Modell just packs up and goes to Baltimore. And I get it. He couldn't get any public funding and all that. And he's cheap and probably didn't have enough money to build a stadium on his own. But the Cleveland fans they're phenomenal fans. Not were, because they have their team now. They are some of the best fans I've ever seen. And the Bills fans, while they're, you know, you got your morons that are diving on chairs and fruits and all that kind of, they do a bunch of stupid ass stuff. But the history of the Bills dating back to the AFL days, I think you cherish the hell out of that if you're the NFL. And I think you find a way to make something happen because that part of the country has always supported the Bills. So I'm not for moving the Bills to Austin. I know it's a business. I get all of that. And I know that I think they're asking for public funding for both the football and the hockey arena too. I think both of them. And so that's been a real big problem because they want, you know, and we watched Stephen Ross do everything privately, and I know he filed for it but didn't get it. Some people would have tried to move or do something else or whatever, or bitch and complain. He just said, all right, well, screw it. I'll write the check. Got to appreciate that. But I don't want the Bills to move to Austin. I didn't want the Browns to leave Cleveland either. I didn't want the Sonics to leave Seattle. We shouldn't lose the Marlins. We're not the problem. The owners are the problems. They're the ones that never commit to winning. So how do you sell a sport when you don't commit to winning? You know? The Bills are part of Western New York community here. I doubt the Bills will be allowed to leave, says Ragin. I'm completely against it, man. Okay? And it's not, you know, I know I'm a Dolphins fan and I'm supposed to hate the Bills and all that, but what's right is right. And what's right is to keep the Bills in Western New York, man. That's my opinion. Okay. Lisa says they will never move the Bills. Well, good. I hope they don't. Call of Duty says Bills ownership is demanding 100% taxpayer funding. I don't know if it's 100, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It sucks. And that's tough. Few tailgate venues are better than Orchard Park, maybe KC. No, man, they do a great job over there. They're fanatics. Okay. And I have every reason to hate those bastards because when I went with my wife, then girlfriend, years ago to a game, and we got pelted, bro, by snow and stuff when we were there because we were all in Dolphin colors. Right there, we were at Rich Stadium, right? I think it is. And we were there watching it was the Dolphins Bills game, one of the snow games where Don Beebe broke his leg. And boy, we got pelted, bro. They did not like us. If the Bills do relocate, would have to talk about realignment and maybe the Bills moving into the South and the Colts moving to the East. I'm with the other fans. I hope that there is no shot of moving them. Raiders fans always supported Oakland. NFL doesn't care about what's right. You're right. And the A's are next, right? The A's are going to go to Las Vegas. Now, that's what it seems like. I don't think because they've got public funding in theirs over there. I'm checking it. And by the way, NorCal, by the way, I don't know if you ever get access to that mayor, which I doubt, of course. But if you ever are next to that mayor, make sure I think she's a mayor, right? Of Oakland. Somehow tell her that continually taking the shot that Vegas is hot doesn't mean jack crap. Tell her that they're going to build a dome there if they build a baseball stadium. They're not going to be out in the open. I saw the mayor of Oakland, I believe. I forgot her name. Well, they're talking with the people in Vegas, but we know Vegas is too hot to be there. It's extremely hot. She kept emphasizing hot. And I'm laughing at her ass going, you can emphasize hot all you want, sweetie. They're going to build a dome over there, and they're going to have the AC cranked, and they're going to have your team there. And I saw the plans. It's elaborate. It looks pretty cool and all of that. But if there's a lot of public funding going on, I don't believe Oakland could handle that or should handle that. Hey, man, the A's are cheap as it is as a baseball team. They don't spend. That was my problem. That was my issue with Jeffrey Loria. Is that I'll cut a deal with Mickey Arison. I'll cut a deal with Viola and Sifu. I'll cut a deal with Jorge Mas. I'll cut a deal with Ross if I'm the public because all those dudes are going to spend a lot of money. Loria is not. He's just looking for a free ride, and so is the Oakland A's. It's my problem with the Oakland A's. Okay, if you get a new stadium, are you ever going to spend money? Because you're a really good baseball franchise, and yet you don't spend money. It's like the Rays. You're a really good baseball franchise, and you idiots can't spend a couple of bucks because that's all you need to become a world champion. You can constantly make the playoffs. You can scare the crap out of the elite teams, but don't you notice that you always fall short? Why? Because in the end, you don't spend like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs and the Dodgers, and that's the problem. But if you're that good, all you need is a couple of extra players, and it puts the A's and the Rays over the top. I would never deal with the A's ownership group. I wouldn't give them jack anything. Not in Oakland and not in Vegas. I'm sorry. If I'm going to make a public-private partnership, I'm going to make it with somebody that is actually going to do their part. Mickey Arison has created several championship teams. So every bar in South Florida has had a loaded bar during heat nights. And they've made money for everybody, not just for themselves. The Arepa people sitting outside selling their stuff, they're making money. Parking is making money because their stadiums are loaded. Do the Marlins do the same thing? The Heat are so good, they have heat stores around South Florida, employing more people. You understand what I'm saying? That's the difference. Now we look at what the Panthers are doing over by War Memorial. Will the Marlins do anything like that? No. That's my point. These are custodians of our community. Viola and Sifu are effing studs, bro. Jorge Mas had no business putting $150 million in Lockhart. None. And yet he did it. These are the kind of people you want to make a public-private partnership because they're going to give back to the community. They built a beautiful football field out there, and so now the high schools can still play football there at Lockhart. They don't play in the stadium, but they play on one of the practice fields that has stands and everything. Because Jorge Mas understands if he's going to use something, he's also not going to take away, and he's going to help our community in the process. These are the people you make deals with. You don't make deals with the idiots from the A's. You don't make deals with the idiots from the Rays. You don't make deals with Jeffrey Loria. And so far, you don't make a deal with Sherman and Jeter. You know, that's just the way it goes. Now, Vegas is going to make a second deal with the cheap owner because the other owner's cheap too for the Raiders. Crazy old Maurice says, I bet my dad is watching this right now. Well, crazy old Maurice, I hope your dad is watching too. Hi, Dad. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Let's start hour number 3.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchased with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty, here we are, our numero 3 on the program. Manny Navarro will join us.
There's no need to drive around South.
No, there is no need. Manny will join us at 12:30. We'll have a little fun with Manny, and we'll get into some Heat talk. By the way, NBA yesterday, the Suns give Chris Paul a 4-year, $120 million deal. I mean, seriously, is weed legal over? Not even weed. Are they like drunk? Because weed doesn't make it dumb like that. Are they drunk? Is that what it is over there? Are they like on acid or something like that, the Suns? I mean, that guy was broken down by the end of the finals now. You're going to give him a 4-year contract? I don't really like the Heat and Jimmy Butler and now this Suns deal. I just don't understand this one. I just feel like in another year or two, we're going to be going, wow, they're paying Jimmy this kind of money. And the Suns are going to say the same thing. It's an albatross of a contract. The other one that I saw, the Jazz give Mike Conley a 3-year, $72 million deal. This is a guy that since the 15-16 season has missed 167 games. Are you listening to me? Mike Conley has missed 167 games since the 2015-16 season. You're going to give that guy that kind of money. And then the Knicks, Evan Fournier, the Frenchman, 4 years, $78 million. And listen, I get what the Knicks did. They have no shot at stars, so they had to settle for what they had already. Blue-collar team, maybe get into the bottom end of the playoffs, a best-case scenario, no stars on the team. They had no shot at stars. And I heard the people on ESPN talk about, well, they want to stay somewhat flexible. All their deals are 2 and 3 years. So when these superstars come up, they can go after a superstar. And it's funny because they're not going to get any superstar. We keep talking about the Knicks and superstars for like 30 years now. Okay. And it's been 25 years at least since a superstar wanted to go there to the New York Knicks. So it's been over a quarter century already, and we're still talking about the same crap with the Knicks. So they got themselves a team that was, nothing special. But I just, some of the decisions, Jimmy Butler and I got to say the Lowry deal is also 3 years, 90 for me is you're paying a guy till he's 38 years old and you're paying him that money. To me, that just makes zero sense whatsoever. So the Lowry deal, the Butler deal's crazy. Fournier, Chris Paul, Mike Conley. Man, there's some irresponsibility going on and throwing money away yesterday in NBA free agency. Van Ginkel, by the way, going inside the facility with a slight limp at practice. It continues. Baker and Agba pseudo-sacked Tua for a safety. No tackling. Let's see what else here. Nice completion from Tua to Smythe on a situation drill where Miami starts the offense on the 1 yard line. The leak out would have produced a first down. Sealer is the D lineman paired with Emmanuel Agba. That explains why Christian Wilkins was second team today. So hopefully Van Ginkel is all right and it's nothing serious and he'll be fine. I like Van Ginkel a lot, man. I think he's turning into a heck of a player. Nose for the football. That to me is what stands out most about Andrew Van Ginkel is that some bitch finds a way to be around the football all the time. It's awesome how he has a nose for the football. Let's see. Today has been Tua's worst days of training camp practice. It's a lot of inside run stuff, so no heavy passing. Also no Albert Wilson, not a bad day, just not a step forward today. Well, but if it's all running, you can't call it a bad day. I gotta see when I get Omar on Friday, I'm gonna call him out for that. Okay, so it's all run, so that's got to be a bad day for Tua. It says it's been Tua's worst days of training camp practice. It's a lot of inside run stuff, so no heavy passing. Also, no Albert Wilson. Not a bad day, just not a step forward day. Well, then don't call it one of his worst days. You can't call it a worst day and then in the same sentence say, not a bad day, just not a step forward day. That's not his fault. If it's run, it's run. He's got to work on the handing off, and that's it, to make sure it's clean. Are the handoffs clean? Are there no fumbles? Then Tua's doing an exceptional job. That's the way you got to look at it. Let's see. Barry, by the way, says Nunn still has a $4.7 million qualifying offer from the Heat. The exact one Bruce Brown just took with the Nets. Heat can rescind at any time. Okay. For the sake of keeping the record accurate, this is Solomon Kinley's third day with the third team offense. So those are some of the things going on in camp that I am reading here for you guys. Just that was that part about it. Yeah, it's one of his worst days, but it's all about runs. Alan Hearns with a 32-yard reception from Brissett. Jamal Perry in coverage. Okay. All right. Remember, you can reach out to us on the email. It's bigoradioshow@yahoo.com. You can also reach out to us on the YouTube chat board. If you got a question, a comment, an insult, send it on in. We love you either way. You can also reach out to us by Twitter, Big O Show, and support the show, Cash App or Venmo. That's Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. And reach out to us there. What else do we need? Solomon Kinley, by the way, does need to pick it up, because if he's playing on the third team, then there's something going on there. They weren't happy with his conditioning. They're not happy with his mental work. I don't know what it is, but that's a young man. And he is, and this is a guy that could easily be one hell of a road grader. You know, he's an impressive young man. He is. He's got a lot of talent, but like a lot of players that are young, they go through, you know, their issues and trying to figure this out at this level. And Solomon Kinley's got to figure out how to play at this level, the game speed, the conditioning, the mental approach to all of this. And it's a lot for young guys to handle. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. And listen, we have to kind of take take a step back at times. Dieter might be coming out of his shell in year 3. Solomon Kinley may have a little bit of a step back in year 2. You never know. Linemen are kind of a thing that it takes them a while to develop. Now, if you pick the guy top 5 or top 10 in the draft, usually those guys are so freakish that those are the kind of guys like the Jake Longs of the world and, Penei Sewell this year. Those are the kind of guys that you expect to plug and play right away. But as you get later into the first round and then you go into other rounds, there's usually a reason why they fell that far, because they're not perfect, and so they're going to need to work on some things. And Solomon Kinley, I believe, is like a second or third rounder, correct? Is it Hunt's the 4th and he's the 2nd, or is it that Hunt's the 2nd, he's the 4th, or something like that? But obviously, if you fell into the later rounds, then there's some question marks about you. And so this is kind of part of the game. Again, way too early to overreact on any of this stuff. They now started to put on the pads. Let's see. Maybe Solomon Kinley needs that. Maybe he needs to be physical in order to show what he is. You can't really get physical without the pads. So maybe you can't be yourself. Now we'll see what happens with Solomon Kinley from here on out. Let's see. What else do we have here? So Chris Paul is going to play till he's 40. Ridiculous. I know. If you're dumb, weed enhances the quality in you, I think. LOL. It gets you more creative. Look at all the artists, right? Whether they're singing, writing, painting, whatever, they're all smoking and getting creative. Manuel Garcia says stars attract stars. Agree? Lone Star 1029 says, I remember Van Ginkel having the great bowl game against the U. Yeah. Beast. Let's see. Ian from Brooklyn. Jesus, they can't wait to throw shade at Tua. Pathetic. Sneak Attack 305. Van Ginkel always being around the ball was a trait that we loved about Zach Thomas. Amen. Amen. Tremolio says Omar Kelly wins the Miami Media Turkey Award. Ryan Wooldridge says, hi, what are your thoughts on COVID variant? I talked about it plenty yesterday, bro. I'm not going to get into it. It's all there, bro. Okay. I'm vaccinated. I masked up at the concert, double masked at the concert on Sunday night. There you know. Okay. But you can check out yesterday. Listen to the show yesterday. What up, Big O? Have to say, I'm not a fan of the Lowry and Tucker signings, but it is what it is. Have to see how this works out. Let's go, Miami. Hunt is the 2nd round. Kinley's the 4th. There you go. I knew it was something like that. We'll see. I'm not worried about it. I think they'll be fine. It just, listen, the Dieter thing. I had plenty of patience with Dieter. I kept telling a lot of you, hey, slow down. Sometimes it takes Guys, a few years to figure it out, and hopefully this is the year that he figures it out. It would be really cool to see him start at center. It really would be cool. What else did I wanted to talk to you guys about today? Mets, by the way, Marlins defeated the Mets yesterday, 6-3. That was cool. Lewis Brinson with the grand slam. That was awesome. Good for him. And he's batting .235, which I know it's not impressive for you and me overall, but for him, that's actually pretty damn good. He's separating himself from the Mendoza line. So, little bit of progress. He has played better. I really want him to succeed because he has shown me incredible mental toughness that all the hell he's gone through and he doesn't give up. So let's hope they can make it 2 in a row against the Mutts tonight. What else do we have here that I wanted to talk about on the program? Again, if you weren't tuning in, no Parker, Fuller, X today on the field. Van Ginkel left the field with it looks like an ankle injury, and then Jalen Phillips also not practicing with a lower body injury. We don't know how bad that lower body injury is. Did you guys see Tom Brady? Tom Brady shows you he wants it badly. And you got to love this about Tom Brady because you would love this for any great player that has already had a ton of success. Jerry Rice never stopped trying to be great at no point. Now, it didn't matter if he was in the league for 20 years, he was going to work his ass off either way and get it done. And you look at Michael Jordan, it didn't matter that he had 1 title or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. He wanted as many as he could pile up, and he had that fire. And you would figure that a guy like Tom Brady, who has already accomplished everything that he could possibly accomplish, has got 7 titles, you would figure he'd be complacent already at this point, or that he maybe doesn't have the same kind of fire. Well, he threw a tantrum at practice. He kicked off some poor play at the Bucks practice. He threw a major tantrum, cussing, slamming his helmet, and even punting a football. Reporters on the scene in Tampa say it all went down during 11-on-11 drills with the GOAT going off after he took what would be a sack. Tom grabbed the ball and booted in frustration, sending the pigskin about 40 yards in the air. On the next series, Tom was sacked again and threw a few incompletions, leading to an even bigger meltdown. The 43-year-old turns 44 on Tuesday, slammed his helmet into the ground, according to the Times, and he dropped an F-bomb on his teammates. Gotta make an effing play when you're tired, fellas. That's all according to Rick Stroud. This apparently ain't the sort of beginning or a decline of Tom by all accounts. He had an awesome start of training camp. Even his head coach, Bruce Arians, was cool with TB12's attitude during practice. Guys have to make plays, Arians told reporters. You're in a critical situation. You can't fall down. He gives you a chance to win the game. You've got to go down and win the game. I don't care how tired you are. And I find this to be absolutely awesome. You think Alonzo Mourning ever stopped trying to be great? And Zach Thomas, and okay, Alonzo only had 1 title and Zach had none, but great players strive to be great at all times. And Tom Brady may have a couple guys in that locker room on that team that might have a little complacency setting in right now because they might be full of themselves and they want a Super Bowl. And this is his way of sending a message like, yo, I'm not happy with this. And if I'm not happy, you're not going to be happy. Because who the hell is going to actually come back at Tom Brady on that team? Nobody. Because you can't. Because he's going to be right and you're going to be wrong. He's got 7 titles and you don't. You have your first one thanks to him coming to your team and creating that environment and obviously making plays. But I love that about him. I love those kind of guys. Those kind of guys that are always, it's all about winning and it drives them crazy and they're driven by it. That's Pat Riley. Pat Riley couldn't get a star, but he figures he'll build a kind of blue-collar team that can go out there, play defense, get nasty, and keep the game close and try to steal it from you. That's the strategy. They're not an explosive team offensively, but they're going to be a dedicated team defensively. So he figures he can't build it one way, he's going to build it another. But that's his driven self wanting to be great again. Whether it works out or it doesn't, that's fine. But it's not going to stop him from trying. And he wasn't going to stay status quo and give you the same team that couldn't live up to their expectations the year before. So he figured, okay, this ain't working. They got their flukish run. It's over. We need to start again. And we need to find new pieces. And that's old pieces that are new. But that's what they did. And that's what when you see a Tom Brady act like that, there's nothing immature about that. There's nothing wrong about that. He's trying to send the message early on now so he can get people to buy in. This is all mental. This is all at another level by Tom Brady. Smart thing to do because complacency sets in with teams all the time. Look at our Heat team from last year. Looks to me like they got to the finals, and that, it made some guys, maybe their heads got a little fat and they thought it was going to be that easy again to get back to the championship, and they didn't play with that same kind of edge. Whatever edge they found in the bubble, they didn't have it prior to the bubble. And whatever edge they found in the bubble, they left it in the bubble all last year. That guy, he's not going to leave his edge. He's always going to have his edge. And that's what he was doing there. Good stuff. I give him a lot of credit for doing that. We will have Manny Navarro any minute now. He will be joining us, and we'll have a little fun here, and we'll talk with our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. Let's see, what do we have here? Steven says, you think X is a big loss if they trade him, but if you lose Van Ginkel, that would be a major loss. Hope it's nothing serious. Yeah, it didn't sound like it at the moment. I mean, he was walking off, so maybe it's just a little tweak or something like that. And X would be a big loss. Let's not get it twisted. I would trade him anyways because to me, it seems like X is always going to have some kind of an issue. And I thought for sure he was traded, by the way. We'll see. Maybe people are talking about maybe there's some hope there, which, again, I'm a little shocked if they pay anything in that salary because I think they would open up Pandora's box. Let's see. If we start the season with O-line in shambles, we need to sign X because we need to win with D again. Okay, but let's wait. Let's see how everything develops. Mike Dizzle, who the hell keeps putting the dislike button? Oh, that's fine, man. It's all right. Don't worry about it, Mike. It's good for some people to hit the dislike button. You got to have some haters, man. If you don't have any haters, then you're doing it wrong. You got to have some haters. So it's all good. Nowadays, 235 average is an all-star. He's actually not wrong. Let's see. Anthony Manzano says, with the Heat adding Kyle Lowry, do you think it actually helps Bam Adebayo's development? Like what happened with DeAndre in Phoenix, that they got Chris Paul? No, I don't. Because if Butler didn't motivate you, it's all Bam. It's up to Bam now. It's up to Bam to become that stud. That's all. And as I said earlier on the show, if Bam doesn't become a superstar and if Tyler doesn't become an all-star, this team has no shot at making a deep run in the playoffs. I don't believe it. I believe they're a first-round exit, but if they sneak up to the fourth or fifth slot, then they'll survive one round and then get eliminated after that. I've gained a lot of respect for TB12 over the last year. Well, he's fun to cover now. He's fun to follow, right? Because he's out of that Patriot shadow. So he's actually funny. He jokes around. He's actually got a personality now instead of being like a robot for that team, which, by the way, they are kind of doing it here for the Dolphins. Big O. Hi, Peter North here, old adult film star. There's never going to be anyone like me or Brady. Thank you, Peter North. All right, there you go. Nice. He put good-looking hunky. That's what it is. So we've got a porn star in Peter North following us. And then you put a thumbs up and a high heel. Why didn't you put an eggplant? All right, Raging Dolphin Maniac. I see some of that leadership and greatness in Tua as well. I agree. NorCal says they are playing nice with X because both sides lose value if they can't find common ground. You could be right. Rosendo says, don't mind if they offer him incentives as long as he proves it on the field. Put one more incentive in there. No domestic violence issues. Sign here. See how he would respond to that one, huh? You waive all your guarantees if you get caught in another domestic violence issue. Sign here. No. Right. That's what's going to happen. All right, let's get to our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Time for Canes fans to get what they want. Information, insight, and perspective. It's the Caneswear Miami Hurricanes Report with Manny Navarro, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. Here's Big O and insider Manny Navarro.
All righty, it is time to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Manny Navarro, our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes Report. Bro, you look like you belong in some kind of video. It's all black. I almost feel like you're about to start rapping or something here. There's like nothing in the background, or either I'm seeing fluorescent puppets come out behind you or something. You know, I think I'm in Little Mermaid with my daughter or something. You know what I mean? It's just that's an imposing frame you got for us there, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. I got to change the bulbs here in the bedroom of the lights that flickered this weekend. I've just been lazy. I've been too busy on the computer working. I kind of like working in the darkness. I don't know about you when you're at home, but I like just having the window open and just the sunlight from the outside coming in and not having all the lights on. But I apologize. I'll get that fixed for the next appearance.
No, it's actually a good look. I'm thinking maybe you're honoring the black helmet for the Canes or something. I'm not exactly sure.
There you go.
You know, actually at Caneswear they say that one's like a big seller. They have the black helmet. He goes to me the other day. A customer came in and goes, "Oh, that's a terrible helmet, man. Why do they have it in black?" And he turned to the customer and goes, "Oh, you mean the hottest selling helmet we have here in the because it sells more than the white one and the green one and the orange one. The black one is the one that sells the most, actually. And even the black jerseys are also incredibly popular at Caneswear, dude. So they love it in black. So I guess that's what's going on. Oh, wait a minute, what did I do there? There we go. Okay, there we go.
It's all right.
Yeah. I was like, holy crap. I hit the space bar accidentally, and it did that. So anyway, I guess you're doing it in honor of the all-out black look. I was talking with some of our listeners today, and we were going back and forth, and you know, I kind of laugh at the people that are trying to convince themselves that they're going to beat Alabama. And to me, this season is all about North Carolina. You're 19 of 22 returning. North Carolina should be the target at this point in time, not Clemson, not Alabama. Yes, it would be nice to beat those, but let's be honest. First, you got to crawl before you can walk, before you can jog, before you can run. They're in the crawling stages. You're not going to go from crawling to hauling ass and going to beat Alabama and Clemson. How important is it for Manny to get over the North Carolina hump this year?
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to be remembered for this season, right? It's can he beat Mac Brown? Can he get himself to the ACC championship game? And I think, especially in light of how embarrassing last year's loss was at home, they got to look a lot better. And, look, North Carolina is still a very, very good team. I know everybody talks about, well, they lost the 2 running backs who went to the NFL and they had the 2 receivers. North Carolina has been recruiting well. They've always had talented players at North Carolina. Now Mac Brown and his staff are getting the most out of them. And, Sam Howell's a guy who's going to probably be a first-round pick at the quarterback position. I would expect him to be. And, they're great. There's really good players on that team. And especially on the defense, I think they've really upgraded. That Tony Grimes kid last year at cornerback, he's one of the 5-star recruits that they signed and enrolled early. One of these kids like the Quinn Ewers kid who went to college a year early, and he's really developed. He's I think he's going to be one of the best players in the conference this year. He just showed flashes last year and had an interception against Miami last year. But he's a guy who I think is going to be one of the best lockdown corners in the country by the time he's done. So they've got quality players, and to me, it all comes down to how they do in that game and whether or not they can get to the ACC championship game. If they don't, then I think most people are going to view this season as a failure for Manny Diaz because of the experience that this team brings back and what they got in the transfer portal. Is that necessarily fair? I don't know. I think, to me, the most important thing is they have another great signing class and they keep the kids that they've recruited the last 2 years from leaving through the transfer portal somewhere else. Those are the guys that are going to turn the program around. The Jake Garcias, the James Williams, the Leonard Taylors. Those are elite talents that I think are difference makers that put Miami back into the competition where you want them to be.
Okay, so I was laughing because I'm looking at the chat board. I don't know if you're watching the chat board.
No.
But Rosendo sends in, he says, Manny looks like he's been banished into the Phantom Zone from Superman 2. So where Zed and the other 2 that they send them into that mirror thing that goes into the darkness. Oh, that was awesome. I was just picturing that. I'm going, yep, man, he's stuck with Zed and company there in that thing.
I'm gonna steal a line from Shandell Richardson. I'm working on my album cover right now. That's what I'm doing.
Right,
this is an album cover look.
Okay, there you go. Right, that makes sense too. Nice job by Shandell. I like that. All right. Any news on the recruiting side this week since we talked to you last week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big news was that they hosted this pool party on Saturday, and Jaheim Singletary, who's a 5-star cornerback, they picked up another great cornerback commitment. They've got 3 really good tight ends now, all 4-star kids. They picked them up on Friday. But this Jaheim Singletary guy is a special talent. He's been committed to Ohio State for a while, and he's got a great relationship with Travaris Robinson. And, Miami really feels like they're going to be able to add him to the class. One distinction I want to make, for Miami fans, and they look at it and they say, oh, they've only got 8 commitments. I wrote a story this week quoting Manny Diaz. I shared the quote that I got from him at the ACC championships. They look at this again as, hey, we may not use all 23 available scholarships. We may just hold on to a bunch because the transfer portal is going to be nuts next year. People are going to be shifting left and right. So they may only sign 15, 16, 17 guys. So the way that they're using their scholarships is, if this guy isn't coming in here and either has major upside, like a Flip Carswell, who's that 6'7", 275-pound offensive tackle who's never played football before, until this season, unless he's a guy with huge upside or a guy who's already considered an elite talent, like a Jaheim Singletary,
like the Singletary kid, right?
Right. They're just not going to hand out scholarships, and so that's what they're doing. They're being very, very selective with what they have, and they know that they're going to save some for the transfer portal to upgrade this team because they're going to lose a lot of guys. There's going to be a lot of guys, that are going to be leaving. So you're going to need some older guys. So you save it for the transfer portal.
So are they expecting like the Big 12 to suffer a lot of losses? Is that kind of what they're anticipating with the news of Oklahoma and Texas?
Well, I don't know that they're necessarily going to lose guys right now. They might lose recruits in this class, guys that are part of the 2022, 2023 classes. But I think the guys that are at those other Big 12 schools now, they're still going to have Texas and Oklahoma to compete against, right? It's not like those schools are leaving after this season.
Like 4 years, right? Or
4 years from now. 4 years from now, right? So I think it's more affecting the recruiting long term where we'll see it. But I think in terms of transfers, I don't see that happen. That transfer portal, man. The other aspect to all of this is there are a ton of kids that are still in there with nowhere to go, man. Like these kids, they come to college, they think, I'm gonna transfer. Somebody else wants me. And a lot of them find out that, hey, if you didn't cut it at Miami, or you didn't cut it at Florida State, or you didn't cut it at South Carolina, there's not a huge list of people that are like, oh, I definitely want to add this guy to my team. I'm going to use one of my 85 scholarships on him. You're going to end up in a much crappier conference on a team that probably has no chance to win, if that. And a lot of times, I'll tell you, coaches prefer to trust other coaches and the evaluations that they had with that player. In terms of the transfer portal, like if they know this guy was a problem at another school, they're not always going to say, well, I'm going to take this guy on. He couldn't do it at this school. I'm not going to take him on. So they much more prefer to take the high school kid who they think they can mold and develop. In Miami's case, they know specifically when they go to the transfer portal what positions they want to address, and that's how they attack it.
When does practice start for them?
Well, I'd love to tell you an exact time and date, but I'm still waiting on an email from Miami Sports Information Department. Yes.
Really? Now, that's why I asked you, because I couldn't find the exact date, and I'm like, Manny's gonna know. They've got to know already when it is.
Well, I was told by somebody on the coaching staff.
Dude.
Yeah, I was told by someone on the coaching staff a month ago that it was going to be August 6th. That's Friday, August 6th. Now, I don't know specifically if, like, officially, because nothing officially has been posted. I know from talking to, some of the Miami Sports Information people in Charlotte 2 weeks ago that they're still debating how they're going to allow us access. Remember, last year we didn't get to see anything. We weren't allowed any practices. We didn't do any.
It's getting worse now, and now it's getting worse.
And now it's getting worse. So they're kind of monitoring the situation. So to me, I think, they're still waiting to make a final decision. I pleaded with them. I said, listen, even if we have to stand 50 yards away from everybody, to watch practice, give us the opportunity to come and watch practice, like for 15, 20 minutes. Give us the opportunity to take attendance at the very least, because, we're just relying on what they tell us, and they can tell us whatever the hell they want.
Right, exactly. You're not going to get the truth at all.
Right.
And they're not going to let you in, because they're going to use that as an excuse to not let you in and not be access, and they'll use the COVID thing, and that'll be the convenience for them in order to do that. Wow. So is that normal for them not to have a date by now, or this has got to be not normal, right?
Well, I think they're just, I mean, I think they know that the guys covering the team, we all know, when it's supposed to start. The issue is, the logistics, how we're going to operate it all. The Zoom, is it all going to be Zoom interviews? Are we going to have any opportunity to be on campus? I think the answer right now is no, with the numbers climbing.
Wow, that is, and that's the other thing. Have you found out how they're going to handle all of this now? And are there any delays because maybe they have a COVID issue currently going on right now with the team? I wonder.
Well, the biggest COVID issue, and I asked about this, I talked about this with you when I was up in Charlotte, but essentially the 85% threshold is the big number. And in terms of the team being able to operate at the full capacity, meaning having team meetings and having, everybody together, eating together, all those kind of things that, you take for granted in light of what's going on with the virus. Manny Diaz told us he was expecting to get to 85%. I've been out. I've talked to a bunch of players here with all their NIL events, and all of them that I interviewed told me that they've been vaccinated. So okay. I think, right now it's just a matter of getting to that 85% threshold and feeling comfortable enough to allow the media in. I don't know if we're going to I'm assuming we might have to prove our own vaccination records to get access. I know the Dolphins have obviously done that. So
they did that. The Dolphins asked me for my vaccination proof so I can go to camp.
Right.
When I went to camp, and I had to show them, which I have no problem with that. I'm glad. In fact, I think they should be asking for vaccinations for everything and anything that goes on. I think that would be the safest environment you can possibly have. And you know what? I would do it to you guys. If I'm I say, yeah,
Right.
we're going to give you guys access only if you're fully vaccinated. If you're not fully vaccinated, we cannot give you access. We don't want to put anybody in jeopardy for any reason whatsoever. Our better chances are to deal with people that are vaccinated who have a chance of not passing on the virus. That's what I would do if I'm glad businesses are doing that all around the country now. They're now starting to turn to the point like saying, hey, yo, you want to work here? You got to be vaccinated. If you're not working here. And that makes all the sense in the world, man. It's the only way we're going to put this thing out.
I will tell you, a lot of the kids have been scared to take the shots. Like they all told me that they were all worried. Like, oh, I don't know what this is going to do to me. Don Chaney Jr.
The enlarged heart thing. Is that what it is? What they talk about the enlarged heart because it's happened?
Yeah. And they're just, the side effects. And then Don Chaney Jr. cracked me up. I was going to use one of his quotes, but he said, yeah, the whole zombie thing. I started cracking up. I said, this is, again, shows you how these guys are, young and funny. But yeah, I mean, that's how silly some of them think,
It's a lot worse to get COVID, and maybe it really does some serious damage. So you're better off dealing with that. It's just the funny part is there's an attitude that some people think that the vaccine is supposed to be perfect, which medicine has never created a perfect vaccine. All vaccines are imperfect. That's just the way it is. It's just it covers the majority. Like the polio one was only 90%. This vaccine's at 95%. But think about it, and it took decades to get rid of polio in the world. With a vaccine, it took decades. Now, we didn't have the resources then. It was a different world. Now we have resources, especially in our country. There are other countries, third world countries, that don't have the resources, don't have the vaccine. So it's going to flourish there and it's going to hang around a lot longer. But in places where there is the resources, we should be able to knock it out here in this country, dude.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so. But I don't know how things are going to change here. If the numbers keep going up and, things don't improve, I don't know. It might affect attendance, right? It might have to shut it back down and say, hey, we can't have full crowds. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's funny that it's happening right as football is getting ready to start again. Right?
Oh, no. Dude, Sunday night I was at the Green Day concert, and I'm looking around going, this is a super spreader event if I've ever seen one in my life. And I don't care that we're out in the open. There were just people, and I was part of maybe the 3 to 5% that were wearing masks. You know what I mean? And I was in the pit. And I still got away from the side. I went to the side of the pit so I could be away from everybody. And I was kind of by myself within like a 15-foot radius because I was away from everybody. And I'm seeing the idiots mosh pitting and all that. And I'm going, oh man, if there's one person infected there, they're just going to be spreading it all over the place. So it's some crazy stuff. All right. Any other news that we're overlooking this week that we have not talked about?
No, I mean, from the recruiting front, that's kind of what everybody's still paying attention to because that class is still being built. But we're waiting for practice to get going. I'm always interested in which surprise injuries we're not told about. I mean, look, we grilled Manny Diaz on everything, but there's always something that happens, right? There's always somebody who, and with COVID now, we'll see, who has to sit out if they test positive for it or whatever. Those are always issues, but we'll find out now once practice finally gets started. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I got a couple stories this week. One, sort of breaking down the depth chart on both offense and defense and, sort of touching on some storylines. So I'll have plenty of content for people to read over The Athletic and have some good interviews. I went out and I actually spoke to Nigel Lee Kelly, who's one of the elite defensive linemen here in South Florida, a kid who goes to Dillard. And we had a long talk about recruiting. So I'll have a story on that as well. He's a big-time Miami target, somebody that they really feel good about. But I'd say they've got some stiff competition, man. I think Oregon and Clemson are two teams Miami's really going to have to look out for. So, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to talk about and read over at theathletic.com. And, of course, every week here, I'll be on with you 2 times a week, man, to cover it all.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And one more thing before I let you go, and this might be also unfair because you may not have all the information. Have they settled in on who's the number 2 QB? just in case, because knowing that King is coming back from a knee injury, the running quarterback, and he's going to take pops. And, there's going to be a lot of guys that the tackle is going to be with a shoulder down in the lower leg area. And, and it's a legal tackle, but they're going to test that knee to see how solid it is. And everybody knows you take King out of that offense, it cripples probably Miami on offense. So that's why I ask you, who is the backup quarterback? Who do you think it is? And should Canes fans feel comfortable about who is that backup quarterback?
Yeah, well, it's funny that I feel like you were sitting here watching me write my story, because I touched that subject that was there in the
watching right there. I'm watching you, buddy. I'm watching you.
I got to turn around now, man, when I'm writing these stories.
Just because you're in the dark doesn't mean I can't see you.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know that we're going to get an answer from Manny Diaz. I think what we'll get is a lot of, both guys are great. Both guys are competing, all that kind of stuff, that coach talk that you're going to hear. The reality is, when I watched those two guys, I thought Jake Garcia was better in terms of his downfield touch and hitting guys in stride and connecting. But I also like Tyler Van Dyke a ton too. I think he's got phenomenal arm strength. I think he's a really talented quarterback. So to me, there's really not one guy in front of the other so far, for sure. And I think the coaches are going to try to keep that as vague as possible, even to the players, because let's face it, right?
Keeps them motivated, right?
Keeps them motivated. And I think at the same time, keeps them out of the transfer portal, because if one of them knows,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Because if one of them knows for sure that the other guy is ahead of the other, they might start thinking. And, Manny Diaz, and I wrote this in my article, I'll share a tidbit of it with you, but Manny Diaz in a private conversation with me in May talked about how in the past, when he's let out the depth chart, there's been players on this team that have been contacted by other schools saying, hey, you want to transfer? So transfer portal tampering is a real thing. Oh. And so you ask yourself, well, why don't they just announce who the backup is?
Cheating in college football? Come on.
Who would have known? Who would have known? No.
Come on.
But listen, there are players who are contacted by other schools the moment those depth charts come out, and Manny Diaz knows he's got two really good young quarterbacks. So my expectation, he's going to play this close to the vest until the moment he's got to play one of those guys.
Okay. All right. Let's hope he doesn't have to play those guys. That means De'Ara King is kicking ass all year long. That would be absolutely awesome. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. More importantly, please subscribe to The Athletic. They do an awesome job covering it locally and nationally, so you get everything going on in sports. And for those of us that love international soccer, you can also get some international soccer coverage also on The Athletic. He is Manny Navarro. He will join us again on Friday. Manny, thank you, my brother. Have a great one, and we'll get you a couple light bulbs.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, my man. You be good. There you go, the great Manny Navarro. Yes. Our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
There we go. Thank you to Manny Navarro, and thanks to the great people, Brett and all the fantastic people over at Caneswear, man. Great sponsors of our program for a couple of years now, and we thank them for all of that. Let me see if I got any questions before we wrap it up here. If we got any things you want me to address. Let's see, what else do we have here? It seems like the injury-prone players are getting most of the press again. Well, that's kind of the way it is. Troy Ortiz tells Peter North he loves his work. Way to go, bro. Way to drop the hammer, Peter. Let's see. And then he says, Troy, all my best wishes, fans. Thank you, Peter North. There you go. So we are honored to have Peter North here. Let's see. GP Trap. He's in the Bat Cave. Yes. Yeah, man, he does kind of look like he's in the Bat Cave. You're right about that. The Phantom Zone one was really good, Rosendo. That was really good. Let's see. Salute to my military brothers and sisters. A great war is at hand. Never comply. Let's see. Florida's Broward County School District reverses its mask mandate after funding threat from the governor. He's dead set on making himself try to look good in all of this, and whatever. But it is what it is, man. That's the world we live in now. Shaboy Kane says, I teach and coach in Broward schools, and they just sent out an email about the optional mask mandate. We go back next week. Yeah, it's great for my wife. Fantastic. She'll be in a school with a bunch of kids spreading it. Manny reporting from the dead zone. Big O, when does the preseason games begin in the NFL? Next week, actually. We get the Hall of Fame game. Big O, busy as F working. Love you. Thank you, Willie. Appreciate you all out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know if I have anything else that I wanted to share with you guys. Hey, congratulations to Lamar Jackson. He's getting a statue outside of Louisville. I thought that's pretty cool, right? I mean, he meant so much to that university, won the Heisman, put them on the map. He made them relevant is what he did. So Lamar Jackson, who's a local young man here in South Florida, is about to get a statue. The Ravens MVP. Apparently, let's see what it says here. He broke the records, having the most rushing yards, rushing touchdowns for the Cardinals football program. On top of that, he's the youngest player and first Cardinal player to ever win the Heisman and first to make an All-American team for Louisville. So the 24 is now entering his fourth season with the Ravens and has made the playoffs every season, but eventually hopes to win the Super Bowl. He will now get a statue at Cardinal Stadium in his honor. That's pretty cool. That's a nice job by Louisville to do that, because you're talking about the biggest name to ever come out of Louisville's football program. And they haven't been as relevant as they were with him as it is. And he was as dynamic as it gets at the college level. Oh, he's been pretty dynamic even in the NFL level, even though I don't buy him as a passer still. But, he has still been able to play his game at this level for a few years now. And I'm amazed. I'm still amazed that Lamar Jackson is still in one piece, but he is so fast that they can't. It's like Rocky and the chicken, and they haven't caught him yet. I'm afraid that eventually it's going to happen, but I wish he would become a better passer from the pocket. That's going to be a challenge for him, but we'll see. Big O just tuned in. Did you talk about PJ Tucker? I think some sort of help in the rebound department. George, I did. First half hour, I covered everything Heat. And then the next half hour after that, Ira Winderman then followed up. So you may want to get that first hour. It is heavily Heat related. Remember, on this show, we don't repeat the same subject over and over again. I leave that lazy stuff to 560 and 790. They do that. We consistently move on and give you new material and talk about something different, because that's how we do it. We don't fill the 2-3 hours with the same subject. We it's not what it's for, because we know that 99% of you are going to be following up and listening to it post. It'll be all podcast. And so that's why we break it down in interviews and segments and rants and things like that, because attention span is very short in this world. So we've got to break it up for you guys that way. Although, you know what? I am very surprised that the full show on video is actually taking off and getting more and more views. And I thank you all for that. That is freaking awesome. Because I haven't been able to add a video person yet, because I'd like to break up the video too into segments and stuff. But we're not there yet. We got to build everything up. That's why, we need help. And And we need all of you to listen. We need all of you to smash the like button. We need you to share the link. We need you to subscribe. Visit our sponsors. You need a car, go to Acura. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of things. It's very important. You need to improve your house and build an efficiency, an extra room, a man cave, EJD Construction. You need to buy something to wear for the Canes game or Heat or Dolphins. Go to Canes Wear. All of those kind of things, and you mention us, those are the kind of things that will help us grow so we can add all the different elements to the show. Slowly but surely, we'll get there. And, of course, Cash App and Venmo, another way you can participate on the show. All right? So thank you all out there because it has been so flattering to see how much stronger the show has become since we returned. I really appreciate all of you out there. George Ceballos says, got it. All right. So there you go, my man. You should invite back the guy that argues with you about Lamar Jackson as QB. Dude gets triggered. We will, but we got to wait till the season starts. And then we'll bring him midway or late season, and we'll get him riled up about Ryan Tannehill and Lamar Jackson. Yeah. He's the Tennessee writer. He's a good dude, by the way. Really good dude. But that's the beauty of sports, man. It's fun to go back and forth and have these discussions. You know what I'm saying? That's the fun part about sports. That's the part I enjoy because we're all going to get it right and we're all going to get it wrong, baby. That's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. You know? Can't do anything about that. Let's see what we have here. Okay, we got that. All right. Thank you. All of out there giving us some love. Hall of Fame game. Oh, it's this Thursday. My bad. I thought it was next week. So it's next. So next week starts the regular preseason. This week starts the Hall of Fame game. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. All right, that's it. I think we're good. We got to wrap it up on the show. I appreciate all of you out there, as always, for keeping it locked. As always, please share the show. Please smash the like button. It is very important to smash the hell out of that like button. Really, really important. Of course, email BigORadioshow@yahoo.com and on Twitter @BigOShow. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, same bat channel. There's many ways to support our program, from subscribing and liking the show to visiting our terrific sponsors. Another way is using Cash App. If you would like to donate to the show and help us grow, download Cash App and search Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. We appreciate your support as we continue to build the best sports show on the planet for South Florida sports fans. Support the Big O Show by using Cash App and donate to Cash Big O Show. Thank you for your incredibly loyal support.